Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome again to the Lei Tai project, and this is the 24th episode of this awesome podcast focused about in Sanda, Taolu, Wushu, but more is Sanda, everything. But I'm sorry, today I'm very happy. That's why I just crossed my words. But today I have one of my best brothers in this sport. It's this handsome guy here. He's Matthew Lee from the USA team. He's the 56 kilogram USA team member. Matthew, thank you very much for accepting this invitation. And I hope, man, like many people want to know, about you. Many people like know you. You are that awesome guy from the team. You're a librarians in Wushu and Sanda and everything. And this time it's my honor to have you here, brother.
Hey man, my wushu hermano, Coach Edgar Ruiz. How are you doing, man?
Ah,
Happy Valentine's Day. I
how that? Valentine's Day.
yeah,
Happy
yeah, yeah.
Valentine's,
I
brother.
hope I hope you got to, enjoy the day with your beautiful family, your lovely wife Mimi, and your beautiful children. You have a daughter and a son, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Actually my daughter she start training this week with me, and man, I feel awesome. I think this is one of my missions.
She just started.
She just started.
Oh, okay. So the Chinese they call it rumen. You have opened the door or the gate to learning.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you, man. Thank you, brother.
I met your son. He hugged me
Got it.
when he first saw me. But I didn't meet your daughter.
Yeah, she was there, but I know, yeah, I know you met her, but maybe you don't remember. But she was there.
I apologize. I
I know,
apologize.
man, bro. Man, in the war games, the war game was like many
It was
people,
crazy.
and we were.
We were going 1,000 miles an hour as volunteers,
Oh
man.
yeah,
You especially, man. We got stories. Hey, by the way, I just want to say before I forget, your lovely wife Mimi.
yeah.
She's a very kind woman. She was very nice to me when we met. So
Thank you,
I
brother.
appreciate
Thank you.
that.
Yeah,
And
she actually. Yeah,
so's your team,
thank you.
Coach Rodrigo Ramos. Yeah,
Nah,
they're,
thank you,
they're
brother.
all great people. They're all great people.
Yeah, we love you too, man. Actually, like for many, for all the people who's watching this podcast or listening this podcast on the Spotify, we have a story. Matthew and I, we met in Beijing training Taolu. So that's why this podcast is very special because we're going to talk about a topic that many people don't like, but about transition from Taolu to Sanda and why Taolu helps a lot in Sanda. It's a really really big weapon, if you want to say like that, because if you watch the last podcast with George from Lebanon, he talks about that he trained Taolu before, and this is something that we're gonna talk. But okay, let's start with this podcast, my brother. Can you please tell us about your life, your story, like where you born, how old you, what's your name?
Oh gosh, yeah, sure. So, my name is Matthew Lee. I've been doing wushu for most of my life. That's both Taolu and Sanda. So, I'm one of those like wushu nerds. I'm obsessed with it. I just like doing it. Um, I got into martial arts because when I was like, maybe 3, 4, 5 years old, like definitely before like grade school, I was watching Power Rangers, and it was the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers show. Okay, people always like to trash on martial arts shows and movies, but come on, those are the things that get us in there. Truthfully, us Americans at least, right? I was born in America, so I'm an Asian American. I'm not really like a true Chinese that grew up in China. I'm not even really Chinese technically when you think about it, because I'm half Chinese and half Korean. If you really think about it,
Oh, oh,
my dad's side is Taiwanese, and my mom's side is South Korean.
oh, okay,
Um,
okay.
but when I was growing up here, I was watching the original Mighty Morphin's Power Rangers show, and my first martial arts movie was actually Jean-Claude Van Damme's Bloodsport. So I actually really only knew about karate and taekwondo, which are Japanese and Korean martial arts. They're arguably much more popular than Chinese martial arts, so that's kind of to be expected. And the irony is that a lot of them featured, uh, you know, white people, quite frankly, white actors, and
Yeah.
not Asians. And I feel like my parents were kind of like, nah, we can't have that. So they introduced me to Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and Jet Li. Um, and obviously when I first saw them, I thought they were the coolest of them all. My first Bruce Lee movie was Way of the Dragon. I think in Chinese it's called 梦龙国奖 or Fierce Dragon Crosses the River. It's the one where he goes to Italy. I think in the West it's released as Return of the Dragon. My first Jackie Chan movie, I think, was Super Cop. I think it's Police Story 3. And my first Jet Li movie, I think, was Once Upon a Time in China and America, the sixth one, the sixth Wang Fei Hong movie is the last one that he did. Yeah, so after that, I was really, really into Chinese martial arts. I was a huge fan of kung fu movies and all that stuff, and I wanted to learn. And one day, my paternal grandmother, my grandmother on my dad's side, knew that I liked it, and she found wushu classes at a Chinese school and suggested it to my dad. So one day, my dad came up to me and said, "Hey Matthew, have you heard about wusu?" They speak with a Taiwanese accent, so it's not the same as if
Yeah.
you like say learn pinyin in Beijing with a
Uh-huh.
mainland accent, because so all the sh sounds are actually all s's. So it's really really confusing, right? But I was basically what he asked me like, "Hey, have you heard about wusu?" And I said no, and he was like, "Would you like to try it out?" And yeah, I said okay. So I started when I was 7, and I wasn't talented at all. I actually sucked. I was very very uncoordinated. I was unflexible. I was very weak. I couldn't even touch my toes, and when I was doing what they call 正踢腿, the front stretch kick,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
I would fall forward and I'd trip and I fall forward, and my family was watching me too, so it was kind of embarrassing, but it was fun. I like doing it. But I didn't really start taking it seriously until I was 14, in 2008. My first competition was the 2008 U.S. Junior Wushu team trials, and again, I was horrible. I remember getting the lowest scores, and that just crushed me.
Doing
But
Taolu, right?
yes, correct. Taolu. There was they called it Sanshou back then, but there was Sanda there, and I was watching it. I knew what it was, right? And we'll circle back to this real quick, but
Yeah.
um, to get back to my story. I remember I was very, very discouraged, but then I went on YouTube and I watched a performance of Yuan Wenqing's Daoshu, and I was like, I want to be like that. And I didn't care if I sucked at it. I just liked doing it. So I kept competing. I was lucky enough to be a C team member on the U.S. Wushu team, the Taolu team, that is. And we kept going to uh, I believe I was a C team member on the 2008 junior team, even though I didn't do very well. Didn't make the team in 2010. But in 2009, I went to the Beijing Shizhahai Sports School, the home of the Beijing Wushu team, for 3 weeks in the summer in 2009, and then again for another 3 weeks in the summer of 2010. That's where I met you. I met you and James Yang, and you both were training together, I think, under Coach Zhu Jianghong, right?
Yeah, of course. The
That was
best.
really cool. Unfortunately, that was my last trip there. And I'm not gonna be able to go back now, or at least to train, because they apparently they closed it off to foreigners back in like 2012 or something. You might
Uh,
know more than me.
yeah, they closed in 2016. Actually, we were the last. Just a parenthesis. We were the last team training with the Beijing Sanda team, because after that they closed the doors for foreigners. And I remember 2010 when I met you there in Beijing. Man, we had a really blast time
Dude,
training.
I actually remember the first time you talked to me there.
The
You helped.
Mexicano.
No. What, you helped correct me on my 旋风脚.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
a 360. I wasn't getting the timing of the landing. I wasn't catching the ground correctly with my feet, and it was stupid because I was wearing jeans too, and I wasn't properly warmed up. So that was dumb. But when you're a kid, you don't know anything. You just do what you like. Even though I was done training, I still wanted to see you guys. I actually wish I could have trained with Coach Zhu Jianghong. She
Yeah.
seems like a really cool person. She also got my name correctly. All the Chinese people, they can never say my name correctly. It's not their fault because they don't have a th sound in their language. But anyways, I'm getting off track. I'm really bad about that. I apologize.
Nah, it's fine.
But
Now,
but anyways, we I eventually made the C team in team trials a total of, I think, 4 times, right? And each of those 4 times I was able to qualify to go to Pan Ams, the Pan American Wushu Championships, right? So my first one was Mexico 2012, Costa Rica 2014, Lubbock in Texas, in the USA 2016. I saw you all 3 times there, and you remembered me,
Of
you know.
course, yeah, of
And
course.
my last time doing Taolu was 2018 in Argentina.
Okay.
Unfortunately, in 2019, I tried out for the U.S. Wushu Taolu team, and I didn't make it. You know, so at that time, I was like, okay, well, I didn't make it. That sucks. You know, I failed. I don't really know what I want to do. But during that whole time, I was still practicing, and I got into sanda recreationally. You know, just for fun. I wasn't really great at it, but um, I started putting on the gloves in 2010 at the wushu school I used to go to. But I don't really take those first few years seriously because it's just, oh, you just put on the gloves and you hit pads and you spar, but you don't really know what you're doing. Like just because you go out there and you work hard, if you don't train technically, you're not gonna get the most optimal result. You know, it wasn't until Coach Li Yiyuan or Coach Ian Lee, the head
The
coach of
head
the
coach.
US
Mhm.
Wushu Sanda team, came to Go's Kung Fu in 2016, and he ended up teaching Sanda seminar series.
Yeah.
And he taught all the kung fu students there all the bare basics, like from beginning to like the basic takedowns, the shrifa, the throws and
Yeah.
the sweep that you could do from kick catches. And he wanted to do more. Like he wanted to do more of the shrijiao basics, the hip throws and everything. But he felt he was I specifically remember from his face he was very troubled. He couldn't he felt that he didn't have enough time. So we never really got into that. But that was the first time I really feel like I started to relearn everything I was doing wrong. And I kept going to Go's Kung Fu because my Wushu senior, who actually fought 56 kg at the 2019, I think it's the 14th World Wushu Championships in Kazan, Russia.
Yeah, this name is what his name? I know him. I know him.
Jason Liu. Jason Liu.
Yeah, Jason Liu. Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, I
Yes.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, he went and you know, he was actually the one that taught me like my real foundation in sparring because I didn't really know what I was doing. And he eventually got to a point where he was like, all right, I'm I'm sort of I was teach sparring you, and then it got to a point where I kind of got to be mean with you because you're actually getting a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better,
Yeah.
right? And
Uh-huh.
eventually he was like he kind of let me through the door at Go's Kung Fu, and I wasn't a real student there, but I started training with Lao Shi Mark Lorenzo. He was actually the Guoshu Lei Tai champion in 2015 of his weight class. Guoshu, for those of you that don't know, is more of the traditional side.
Yeah.
In the U.S., it's run by another federation, the U.S. KSF, the U.S. Kuoshu Federation. It's spelled with a
Yeah.
K. Actually, it's
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
Chinese properly, it's pronounced with a G, right? Because Guo, like Zhongguo, the
Yeah.
country, right?
Yes.
But basically, their style of Chinese full contact fighting is considered a more quote unquote traditional, like Taiwanese style
Yeah.
of what is sanda, right? It's basically stand up striking, right? Like standing kickboxing and striking, except with elbows and knees. In wushu sanda, you have a clinch time limit for the clinch being
Oh
2 seconds.
yeah. Yes.
Yes, and in Lei Tai, it's 5 seconds. So it's very interesting, and that's when I first saw Lao Shi Mark fighting.
Competing.
Oh man, it was so scary. You know, I got videos too. I love watching them back because I was like, this guy's a real fighter. He's not just one of those guys that does like compliant demonstrations and looks cool with some fancy move or something like that. He actually fought, you know, and you know, I wanted to learn from that guy, and I wanted to get like, if this was an anime and he had power, I wanted like 1% of his power. That's how inspired I was. Like people like him, people like Jason were my heroes, and you know, eventually, you know, he was very kind with me. By the way, he kept training me, and it from 2016 to all the way to like unfortunately we had to stop during the pandemic,
Yeah.
but we started up again in 2021 and you know 2022 and 2023. In 2020, I kind of got the inkling of wanting to fight because I felt like I reached a ability where I was confident to spar him. And if even though he would clock me in the face with his punches, he hits hard, by the way. You know, I got to a point where I was like, okay, I can still bite down on my mouth guard and still do something, right? And I sort of figured deep down in my heart I wanted to fight before I was 30. Now I eventually got that in 2022. It was my first time competing um, at the USAWKF National Championships. But just two things I want to say before I say I actually started competing. Um, as a Taolu guy, someone that only does forms, the truth of the matter is you don't really, unless you've actually spent time moving with another human body, sparring and move pressure or stress testing your techniques under resistance, you really don't know how to fight. That's
Yeah.
just my personal experience, And as a Taolu guy, someone that does a bunch of forms, it doesn't matter if you're doing, modern wushu or traditional wushu or kung fu or whatever. If you haven't sparred, you probably don't know how to fight,
Oh
truthfully.
yes. Yeah.
And
Definitely.
me understanding that, I was actually kind of scared. I was like, I've seen fights, in person, and I've seen people get knocked out. And obviously, when you see something like that, you think, oh, I could never do that. I'm really scared, right? That's understandable. I felt that way too, right? But I talked to one of the Sifus that I got to learn with, Sifu Jonathan Arend, who introduced me to Ma style Tongbei or Tongbei Wuxue. It's the base traditional wushu system behind the modern wushu fan sichuan, right? The
Yeah.
fan sichuan actually came from Grandmaster Ma Xianda, who taught it to Jet Li, and that became Jet Li's alleged favorite style of wushu that he
Yeah.
demos in
Actually. Yeah.
the movies
Actually.
and illustrations. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, fancy Chuan is the form that I use in the traditional one,
I
and
saw, I
and
saw.
and it's legit. Actually, Chu Yaolian from the Chu Yang Hong from Beijing
Yeah.
team, she was a champion in fancy Chuan when she
Really?
was yeah, when she was in the Beijing team. So she was Chen Chuan, uh, Dao Kun, and San Chi Kung, and fancy
Oh,
Chuan. So she taught
what
me.
that was her traditional style, a traditional
Yeah,
hand form, her hand form.
yeah, and man, and she taught me that, and wow, and I learned a lot, and that is the reason why I start competing in traditional because of her, because like man, fancy Chuan, and fancy Chuan, it's like for the people who never like or who never heard about this. Fancy Chuan is like the it's the speed of the punches, the speed, the power, yeah, this, and that helps you a lot in Sanda, because as Matthew said, like there's a lot of things in wushu, in traditional wushu, and then the modern wushu. At the end, Sanda comes from it. Sanda is a piece of wushu. So that's the reason why, if you know about the Taolu, the traditional, where everything come from, you're
Mhm.
going to understand better this sport. It's not only about it's like if you go to a boxing gym and you start learning punches, but without knowing the story, where this come from, why before they use this guard, why now they use this, why, because every country have a different style, and different style sometimes it's hard to beat. And in Taolu and Sanda and Wushu, something that we're gonna talk, it's about that. Like if you have a if you have a resume or curriculum in Wushu doing different styles, that going to help you to have a good quality of movement in your Nandu. If you have a good Nandu, you're gonna have a good kick and punch skills in your Sanda. Even if you are good in Nandu, you are good in your kicks, roundhouse kicks, and many other things, because you have the power in your legs. You have that power, and man, you're not gonna let me lie. Like you're gonna have that power to like kick hard, because many people, as you said, like many people have the quality, or not the quality, but many people come to the gym and they start punching mitts, and they start punching the punching bags, and they're destroying everything until they start fighting someone. because as
Yes.
you said, it's not the same thing. If like you can understand the technique, you can learn thousands of kicks and punches, but once you are in front of
Oh, someone
anyone,
starts hitting you back. Oh, it's real. It's real
yeah,
now.
yeah, that's more now. There's the strategy, your mindset, and everything about. Oh man, am I going to? Am I? Yeah, and yeah, man. Like Matthew, I wanna go back a little bit in your story.
Yes, yes.
Um, what do you think? Like the transition from Taolu to Sanda. We're gonna focus on Sanda, but how do you feel? Like, okay, you have your coaches, everything that is good, but your your training methodology from Taolu to Sanda. Do you feel any difference? Like, oh man, this is very hard. Oh no, I'm learning something new, definitely. Or it's like, okay, I'm learning something new, but I'm learning fast. What is the difference? Like, how? What can you tell us about that?
Well, okay. So, to answer your question, it is a different skill set. Like, let's be honest. There's a reason why Taolu and Sanda is separated in modern wushu for
Yep.
competition, because you really can only spend time at one, especially today, to be really good at both. There might have been a time, maybe back in the 80s and the 90s, where you could do a modern wushu Taolu routine because it wasn't as demanding.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was easy, but the scope was simpler. You didn't have to do nandu. You didn't have to, learn how to jump
Yeah.
and spin and rotate like you do now.
720s. Yeah.
Yeah, and even then, even in traditional wushu, Grandmaster Cai Longyun, who's a grandmaster of his own family style of Huaquan and a style of Chaquan, right? Two base traditional Changquan styles of modern Wushu Changquan, said that even back in his day when he trained traditionally, forms and fighting were separate. Like they were treated as two separate practices. And what that should tell you more than anything else is that they're two different skill sets. And if you don't spend time at that one skill set you want to get good at, you you're just not going to be good at it. If you have no experience, it's going to be hard to learn. So for me, yes, I felt like different ways of moving, especially with the more modern framework and structures of boxing and kickboxing. If you haven't learned that, it can be very, very awkward. That being said, Taolu does help. I remember a very recent YouTube video by Ranton, who's a Shaolin disciple. He did Shaolin Wushu, which, let's
Yeah.
be honest, half of that is really just modern Wushu after Jet Li's Shaolin Temple, and some of it is traditional Shaolin forms, but they perform it in their own way. You know, um, he said that when people looked at Shaolin Kung Fu, that people always laughed at that and said, "Oh, it wasn't useful for fighting." And he always laughed at that, not because it is, but because the things that it teaches you can help you. You know, and I agree with that. Having a good foundation of movement through good uh movement patterns, through
Yeah.
through sound body mechanics, gives you a lot of great things: coordination,
Hey.
balance, athleticism as well, and flexibility specifically. If
Yeah.
you do modern or sport or contemporary wushu, taolu specifically, can can help you, right? Especially with the kicks, as you said, right? If we can go back to the previous guest, world champion George Saad from Lebanon,
Mhm.
who's a hard act to follow, by the way. It's pretty cool to see someone who did Talu and Sanda be that successful. And he himself gives credit to that, saying that it helped give him, balance, coordination. I had the privilege to interview Liu Wenlong, who is the 80 kg champion, the world champion from the
China.
previous,
Oh,
HYX 60th World Wushu Championships
yeah.
from, but no, he's from China. He's from Henan. He
Yeah.
trains with Liu Haike,
Uh-huh.
who's the head coach of the Henan Sanda team at Henan
Mhm.
Tago Wuxiao. Um, he makes them all learn Shaolin Quan, right? Is it authentic traditional Shaolin Quan? Probably not in the way that they do it, because let's be real, it's still under a modern wushu institution. Right? It's not the same as like authentic traditional lineage. I learned from this grandmaster, and the way he teaches it is exactly the way that his student taught it, and then his student passes it down, and it's exactly to the exact detail. honestly, even traditional styles, some of those masters make changes too.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
yeah. I'm sorry. Just making a
yeah.
parenthesis.
Yes, yes, yes.
Something for the people who don't know. Let me tell you something. I had the privilege to meet Liu Hailong in Beijing.
Wow, really?
Man,
What was that like?
yes, man, super humble guy. He's the best of the best. Actually, Sanda King
Really?
also. Um, Liu Hailong, he went to Beijing to the Chirsha High School with the A team. I remember I was training with the A team, Tao Lu team, and I was training with the Sanda team because that was my last year with the Tao Lu team when I retired from Mexico in 2012 in Tao Lu team in Monterrey,
Mhm.
and I was doing the transition to Sanda, and he went to learn Wu Puchuan.
Really?
Wu Puchuan and one other, I don't remember the other form, but let me tell you why. Because remember they have like they have a graduation test and this and that. So of course he was in the senior, like like everyone taekwondo like the 10 one or something like that. So one of his tests was about to learn two Taolu forms.
Mm.
And I remember he was like a private, teaching in you remember the third floor in the where the A team practice in Beijing,
Yeah, I think when you go into are you talking about
the
the
gym,
new hall or the old hall?
the no the old that where is the gym, and then you need to use the letters.
Oh, there's a gymnastics place on the first floor, and then you
Yes,
walk
the
upstairs, and
gymnast.
then
Yes.
that's the old Paulo hall,
Well,
the original place of the Beijing
yeah.
Wushu team.
Well, they
Old
well
hall, yeah, yeah,
actually Jet Li and many others they
right.
practice there. So
They all train there. The
there,
whole
yeah,
Beijing Wushu team, yeah.
yeah,
Li
and
Zhizhou,
yeah.
Liang Changxing, you know,
Yeah, it was the yes. So they closed the door, and I remember like Coach Chu Jiaolian, she said like, "Hey, I know you love this guy. You want to come?" And like, really? Yeah, just 1 minute. And I want to go and like, hey, oh, you are Liu Halong, but like, no, you can just look. And for some reason, he turns and like, hey, ni hao, and like, oh, ni hao, he ni hao me. So it was like for someone who knows these heroes in this sport, like it's something like wow, very humble guy.
yeah.
He learned the whoop trend and everything. Then he left. He just went to learn some Taolu things with one of the A team coaches. And
Which coach was
something,
this? Yan Ping,
no, I don't remember his name
Fei Yahui.
because he was three coaches.
Okay.
The tall guy, I don't remember honestly, I don't remember the name, but well,
The tall burly guy, right?
yes,
Kind of portly. I
yes,
think
he was.
that's Yan Ping. Yan Ping. Yeah.
I think so, yeah, because he was like the big boss of the Taolu.
Yeah,
He was,
he was always there at night and
yeah,
he yelled a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, he is, yeah. So yeah, Yamping. So
I
okay,
remember I remember in 2010 he kicked he literally kicked Wang Shi's butt when he was still competing because they were arguing about how to about what he should train next that day, right? He was talking about okay, 打那个半套 or 全套. So either like
yeah,
half a set or two sections or the
yeah,
whole form or the full
the
set.
four
And
sections, yeah.
and Wang Xi keeps saying 打分段, right? So single section. He only wants to do single section. And then
No,
and literally when he's about to like playfully run away because obviously you don't disrespect your coach like that, right?
yeah, of
But
course,
Yan Ping literally goes up and he kicks him in the butt.
yeah, man.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I
No,
didn't
no,
mean to.
no, no. But
It's just so
there's
fun.
no this is the kind of stories I know. I This podcast is going to be for many people is going to be amazing because we're gonna touch that side of wushu that many people don't know.
For Wushu fans, for Sanda fans, we'll get to you guys. I promise. I
No, no, no,
promise.
and no. But let me tell you why. Because I'm gonna talk about that both. Because in the Sanda team, with the Sanda team, I was with Han Zhaolian, Han Zhaolian, Han Jushu. Actually, he was the
Oh,
60
the Sanda coach.
kilogram.
The Sanda coach.
Yeah, he was the 60 kilogram champion from Beijing, and actually, he's a Beijing Ren. It's a people like People from Beijing. He born in
Born and
Beijing actually.
raised in Beijing, lived in Beijing, stayed in Beijing.
Yes. And now he's the head coach from the Beijing team, and he's one of the coaches of the China team. He's with
Mm,
the Chinese team. Well, something that I like is like I remember he told me one day, hey, and he laughed at me. You doing Taolu too? And he started doing this and like, oh yeah, I'm doing Jiangsu. I have a competition in America and like, and he started laughing and he said, nah. I respect you. You know why I'm doing Sanda? And I asked him why. Well, with my Chinese, I'm not 100% Mandarin. I can speak, but I can speak a little bit and understandable. And I asked him like why, and he said because they kicked me out from Taolu. and
really?
and I was like, how's that? Yeah, because I'm very tall and I was doing Chan Chan and Kun. And I always fail, because I don't know, I don't feel, but I was doing Taolu at the beginning. And then they changed me to Sanda, and that's why I'm here. I'm the champion. And I like the way how because many Chinese in Beijing, and you saw that because you was there. Many Chinese, they live there, they study there, they eat there, they have everything,
Yeah,
Because-
they dorm there and become full-time professional athletes. They
yeah.
sleep there, they eat there,
And
they train there. Yeah,
since
it's their whole
they're
life.
C team,
Yeah.
and that's for Taolu, Tai Chi, traditional, Sanda, Juanji boxing, Taekwondo, Karate, Taekwondo, everything.
All state sponsored sports.
Yeah. So I think we have the privilege to practice and train with in one school because I met Olympic champions, Olympic gold medals from the Taekwondo with the Taekwondo China team,
Okay.
and I had that privilege about like how your vision change. How your vision change when you're an athlete, when you're a foreigner, and you understand more like why you're there. Like there's many foreigners who go to China just to live the experience. And as you said, I remember, and I want to talk about that. I remember when I met you in Beijing, and something that I learned is like no matter where you come from, if you're there and you can help to your
Your Shongdi,
partner, or yeah, your
your
shindi, like
brothers,
whatever.
your brothers,
Like
yeah.
as you said, like, hey man, you help me with the chef and Jiao. Because many people come with me and like, hey, they help me with that. Tenku Bailian,
Mm.
Tenku Fei Chao. People from Korea team, Malaysia team, James Yang. Now he's one of the best fighters. He's one of the one
Dude,
fighter.
I had no idea he was Axe FC champion. He was an MMA champion, and then he moved on to one
One,
championship. He's
yeah,
fighting as a featherweight now. How crazy is that?
yeah. And he's one of the sparring partners of Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, he also cornered Demetrius Mighty Mouse
Yeah,
Johnson. The people call him
yeah.
like the GOAT, one of the greatest of all time in MMA because of how
And
technically skilled he
bro,
is.
if you're watching this podcast, bro, you killing it in Taolu too.
James, you got to come on the podcast, bro. Come on.
Yeah, we have to. No, we have to. Yeah, of course. And
You
he's a
got to
big
get James. We got stories.
big. Okay, different podcast.
It's okay. It's okay.
But
And
okay, back with
anyways,
you,
yeah.
man. Yeah. So
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
can you talk about that time in China when we met about like we trained together actually several times, and how do you feel, man? Like what was your feeling training in China, and what do you saw about like watching the Taolu guys, the Sanda guys, the boxing gym, everything? What was your expectation that in
Well,
that?
I would say that my expectation, to be honest with you, was pretty romanticized, and not to say that I was disillusioned. I just wasn't educated.
Uh-huh.
I first of all, I'm first and foremost, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of martial arts. Like I like all martial arts. I respect all martial arts, but um, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have real world experience in them, right? So I had all these ideas about what I thought wushu should be, and when I talked with I think Sun Teng, one of the Beijing wushu team members at the time,
Yeah.
I was talking to him about applications of Taolu and stuff like that, and he said that um, they're not really trained because I specifically remember him saying in Mandarin in my room where I was storming at the time. He said, 因为武术是表演的, wushu is for performance, right? Taolu is mainly for performance. And from their perspective, that's true because they specialize in taolu, 竞技武术套路 or 竞赛武术套路, which is competition martial arts routines that you perform under a certain set of rules. So you train as an athlete. It's like a finesse sport, like figure skating or gymnastics. You perform on the floor and you have to perform specific techniques to a certain standard, and if you don't, you get deducted, right?
Yeah.
So that is almost its own sport as a finesse sport, you know. And that's just how they're trained. That's the perspective that they're raised to be trained in, you know. Taolu may not always have been that. Martial arts forms may not always have existed for that purpose, but they became an end for that in sports. And I think it's important to understand that, because that's what I was training too, you know. Even though I was interested in traditional Chinese martial arts as well, I was also training modern wushu taolu too, you know. And I wanted to, and you know, it just so happened that that's what I grew up with, and I wanted to get good at that, you know. Even if I wasn't always successful, I wanted to really understand it, you know. Now things are a little bit different for me, but you know, I will always say this: I'm a taolu guy. I will always be a taolu guy. You know, that's never gonna go away. It's still in my body. It's still in my mind. I still love it. You know, some things are transferable, and I maintain that even back then. You know, it was very interesting to study how some of the guys moved. Um, I even had some ideas about martial applications, and maybe you do too. I'd like to talk to you about this later, but some of them I'm pretty sure I was right about, because they helped me achieve the goals that I needed to do, you know. And something that I think people need to understand about Chinese martial arts, martial applications in Chinese they call 用法 or 应用, right? How things are used or applied, or how they should be used, is a very controversial topic, right? Because there's the classical application, right? Like, for example, oh, someone attacks me and I do this, and then I attack like this, like it's a turn-based, you know, battle in RPG, like that happens in real life. But even though it doesn't, it's theory. In Chinese, they call it 理论 theory, or 权力, the fist theory, right? Theory is different from actual experience, right? So to me, some of the stuff did carry over, and I think it's a healthy mentality to admit some things are helpful, other things are not, right? The emphasis to just perform and to look good, right? Like 套路, they say 是用美, right? Is meant to be beautiful, at least in modern wushu 套路, right? Like, okay, let's be real, right? I did 套路, I grew up doing 套路, but I gotta say this. At the end of the day, you're really dressed up in a fancy pajama, swinging around fake swords and sticks, and you go to the judges and you're posing, look how pretty I am, right? And that's fine. I love doing that, right? Some of the techniques are useful. They can help you train, but not all of them. And the ones that I feel were useful are specifically 回法, kicks, right? The plyometrics, 跳跃, the explosive jumps. Even though you don't use them in real fighting, the explosiveness that you get in your posterior chain, your quads, your glutes, your back, your specifically your lower back, the oh my god, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of the lower back muscle. Anyways, that and 步法, right? 步行步法, right? The footwork and the stances, right? For example, 马步, 弓步, horse stance, bow stance. Bow stance, 弓步, I maintain this to, and I'll die on this hill, I feel is the most applicable stance that you will find from Taolu that carries over to Sanda.
Let me tell you something. You know the two positions I always use, mabu kumbu, and sometimes when I'm doing like a takedowns or something, pubu, kumbu
Really?
to pubu. Oh yeah, and try
Okay.
out. If you take a
Oh,
leg, and then
Chinese wrestling. Chinese wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then you do this.
Oh, the
You
golf
need
swing. The
you need-
栓子, right?
Yeah, exactly. You need to go down like a weight. So that's the reason why.
Oh, it's the level change. Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, of course, because sometimes like depending the well, again, what part of my story, just a little bit.
Yes.
When I start training the wushu, I was 6 years old. My curriculum was 3 days Taolu, 2 days Sanda. And when I was a kid, since like and and actually I was a sanda fighter since a kid, but I had some problems when I was young, and my coach decided me just to, you're gonna stop doing sanda. Now you're just going to do taolu, and I hate my coach for years because I was in the sanda team, in the junior team in Mexico.
Really?
Yeah, and but unfortunately, my for some financial things, my parents, like, they can, pay me for
Okay.
to go outside.
I
But
see.
when they changed me to Taolu, I love too much this sport that eventually, with time, I started loving it because I did the transition from Sanda to Taolu and then Taolu to Sanda. And I understood everything about, like, why Mabu, why the Chip and Kung is very important.
From tactile experience, from physically feeling it. Okay.
Exactly, because like Liu Hailong, the axe kick.
劈腿, Liu, they call him 流腿劈挂. Yeah.
But okay, it's a Wabai and Liho
Mm,
Due come from there, but
mm.
different stance. If you're doing Chip and Kung and then you're going for the axe kick,
Right, right.
Liho,
Even, yeah, even with a slight, even with the accent, there's always a slight percent.
exactly. If you're doing Chip and Kung in Taolu, it's like this. But if you're doing this in Sanda, it's like this.
Yes, yes,
Actually,
yes.
it's easier. So I understood something, from Taolu, like in that transition. I'm like, oh man, I understand this. And one of the something that I really like from my coach in Beijing and the Han Jiaolian is, like, he was a Taolu before, not professional, but like he trains Taolu, and he told me, hey Edgar, remember, Mabu, Gumbu, Pubu, Chiebu, Shubu, you know,
All the five basic stances of modern Wushu.
remember, you're going to use it here. Even like the Chiebu, when you cross, man, that's try out, because it's like when you do this, you know.
Mm,
So every single basic in Taolu helps me to understand many try out things and
mm,
basics
mm.
in Sanda, because we need to understand this to everyone who's watching this podcast right now. We need to practice basics. Chip and Kung,
Basic skills.
Xieti Tue, Wapai Tue,
Mm.
Lihe, and many others. And you need to understand the positions, because even if you're a Sanda fighter, even Russians, man, even Russians, they do that. Iranian team, they do that.
Really?
Of course, man. They, like, in their basics, they do that too, because it's part of their basics. Mabu, like, one of the two skills and basics I use, Mabu punch, Gumbu
Mm,
punch, and then take down. So
sure.
you made a transition. It's
Okay.
not only like one, two, one. No, man, you have to and then because you're short. It's depending your size. That helps me, you know.
Mm.
But well, I'm sorry. I'm just
No, 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 no. It's okay. But to answer your question, to circle it all back, it some things carried over. Some things carried over. But what did not was the yi, or the intention in
oh yeah,
Chinese, right?
yeah,
People will say in Chinese martial arts, the difference in making something work and not work is the intention, the yi, right? What are
yeah.
you intending? What is the goal? Are you just doing a stance to have your thighs parallel to the ground and be, look beautiful? You can do that. I did that,
In a
right?
movie.
And you did too, right? We're very experienced in that, right? But you don't necessarily need to go all the way down. It's athletic. It works the quadriceps, and it's good training, right? But if you want to use it, let's be honest, it's not necessary to go all the way down. So in many ways, if you wanted to teach Taoist to be more accessible, and this is just one of the things that I thought about, it's not necessary to go all the way down unless you cared about competing, right? Those
Yeah,
guys in Beijing, the people that train to go to team trials and compete at Worlds and Pan Ams, they care about being athletes, right?
they live for
Maybe
that.
they're not traditional martial artists, but that's their intention, to be athletes, and that's okay as long as we're all honest about that, right? Um, but if you wanted to talk about fighting, it's okay. How can I actually use this position in relation with another body, in relation with another opponent, right? Gongbu, to go back to what we were talking about, right? the 马步弓步 transition I found worked best with this movement, right? From 套撩掌, and then you turn into 弓步双勾手, right? You can't really see my feet, but it's basically
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that to me is 摔跤手别子. That's the cross body hand block or knee block or tap, right? We know
You
that.
know,
You know that
you
move.
know,
I know that move.
you know this technique. You know when like
手别子,
when you like
手别子.
change and then you know
Yep.
you made a transition like from that stance to gumbu, and then you have to twist your body in your head so you can bring it on. You can bring it down.
We
So
have with this technique in particular, we have seen and observed in Sanda from empirical experience. You get this, like, as you were saying, from a 50-50 position. So overhook, underhook, right? And your opponent has the same matching, right? If you're able to get this underhook free, right?
you
Kind
need
of
to
like
go to
this,
the
right? This kind of looks like the
exactly,
yeah, 赛拳,
exactly.
赛拳.
Hmm.
Right? So if you can get
Hmm.
that out, and then you do the 手别, right? All you need is that one overhook, and then you can go, right? As soon as you, especially in Sanda rules, right, where you
Yeah,
can only clinch for 2 seconds, as soon as you know you have a single overhook, boom, right?
yeah.
But the only way I was ever able to do that is if I had that intention to be like, I'm going to use that specific
Because
stance with
exactly,
that
yes.
intention. If I never did that, never would have worked. So intention matters, right? There's a saying in Chinese martial arts, right? 有一个谚语 or a wushu proverb, 武术谚语, they call it 一弹二立三功夫, right?
Hmm.
First is the mentality, right? The courage, right? We should say literally is courage, right? But I would amend that to say the mentality to fight, right? Coach Lee calls it balls, right? You got to have balls to fight, right? And that's true, right? If you don't want to fight, don't even talk to me about fighting. Cai Longyun, right? In an interview said, the question is, 你敢不敢打? Do you dare or do you not dare to fight? If you don't dare to fight, don't even talk to me about fighting. Honestly, right? 二力. Second is your li, literally your strength or your power. We can amend that to say your physical fitness, right?
Yeah.
Your athleticism, your strength, your explosiveness. Because let's be honest, athleticism does matter in a fight, right? People say that strength and size don't matter. Yes, it does. There's a reason why there are weight
Oh,
classes.
yeah, of course. That's why they're mhm.
Yeah. And I'm a small guy. I have no problem admitting this. For a while, my only sparring partner was Tyler Bristow, right? The heavyweight that goes kung fu, right? And I remember you were giving me some advice when we were training at the open training camp in Lubbock at United Martial Arts Training Center in April. And you're like, man, what are you doing going with big guys? Are you going so hard? And the truth of the matter is, you were right. Like, if you want to be sports specific, again, attention, right? If I'm competing under a specific weight class and I want to do well, I should be training with the guys that are going to be in my weight class. I should know how to move with those people, move with that specific speed, that intensity, that rhythm, right? And honestly, your advice helped me. If I hadn't gone with the person you told me to go with, my results would have been very different. I would not have been as lucky as I was.
No,
But you're right. But anyways, I'm so sorry. I wanted to
no,
say
no, 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 no. It's fine.
yeah, just
Let,
to answer your question. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, let me tell you. It is good when you're in a training camp. Of course, you need. Well, that's my philosophy. And that's my. Everyone as a coach have a different uh training methodologies. Okay, I learn a different methodology, and it's what I teach with my students, and I think that's the reason why I have champions.
Yes.
And one of the things that I like in my case, I have different weight classes. What we do is, like, let's say I'm going to spar with a junior. Okay, I'm gonna spar with him with junior rules at 50% of my power, and he's going 100%. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
help him.
No consecutive punch to the face.
Yeah. If I'm going to spar with adult like Carlos, my student, 90 kilos,
That guy's a
95
monster.
kilos, big guy. Actually, we just trained today. Big guy. Man, he helped me a lot about my defense, and I help him a lot with my speed.
Because
So
you can gain something from sparring another partner, even if it's not real
yeah,
fighting.
this is like the cross training, because, like, I'm gonna help you with the speed, I'm going to help you with your cardio, and you're going to help you with my defense. and how to move in and out. So the methodology is different, but man, of course, you're not gonna spar 100% with someone. That's why, and I want to mention that I didn't follow my the advice that I gave you, because I spar with Bruce, and I
Mhm.
really love to spar Bruce, but for some reason I don't know what happened that day. I don't know. I remember I just arrived from Laredo, 9 hours driving, and we started like sparring, and
You must have been exhausted. I could never do that 9 hour
it's
drive.
fine. So we would start boxing, and man, I remember I got like desperate, and I start punching, or doing this and this, and I know Bruce is good in boxing, so in one just punch, I just leave this free, and he just like my
Jeez.
my
Your rib.
how do you- my ribs, two ribs,
Okay.
and I still spar like that, with you, actually, with many other guys. I use my chest guard, and then I was like, stupid, man, and that's supposed I want to compete that national last national,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I was training hard, and just because a stupid decision I took about like sparring with someone higher than me,
Mm.
my reality is different. But man, let me like, this is your podcast, of course, but let me tell you something that I noticed in that open camp that we have with the national team. It's like I spar with you, and and yeah, you have that like a like, I go, yeah, I like that about you, and I really like the way, like, the transition, because I always say, when once you're a Tolu guy, you're a Tolu guy, and I'm a Tolu guy too, man. I'm a Tolu, even if I like Sanda, I love Sanda. I'm always gonna have that because I compete in the high level, and my mindset and my muscle memory always going to be there. And you still, I love that because I spar with the Taulu guy, and I love that because we spar different, and the clinch, the kicks, the flexibility of kicks, everything is different. The action reaction is different, actually.
Really?
The action
Okay.
reaction is different. So I really love spar with you that time, and I really appreciate. And I'm so sorry. I maybe I wasn't my 100% because of my rate, but even though
No, no,
I
I
re-
understand.
but I really
Anyways, in sparring, we shouldn't really be trying to kill each other anyways. We're
no,
just
no, no.
training. We're just
Yeah,
training.
and that's something that I always I like, man. If you spar with different people in a camp, you don't need to kick your ass. You need
That's
to
true. That's
learn
true.
from the others.
Well, if I can say something,
Yeah, of course.
had you competed, and this is just me honestly speaking, I'm not trying to. Can I curse on this?
Yeah, it's not
Okay,
for kids.
no, no, this is not my space. This is your space. I'm a guest, so I want to be
No,
respectful.
no, no,
But
no. This is your space.
no, no, if I could be honest, man, like I feel like you would have cleaned out the division of 56 kg if you'd have actually fought there. And I can say that because we sparred, and you know, I know that fighters don't really talk about sparring because it's just not the thing to do. But when you and I sparred, like like I found out really quickly your experience and your skill, because when we were moving, you were hitting angles that I wanted to do. Like for example, this 后侧踹腿, right? The rear leg side kick, boom, boom, right? Karate and Taekwondo has that as well, right? But you were doing it, and I was doing it. I stole it from Jason Liu, my wushu senior, right?
Yeah.
But and you were hitting it on me, and I was like, oh man, I want to do that too, right? And what's funny is when we clinched, we got the 50-50 position. What did I go for right away? I went, oh, so right? And then you picked my rear leg up, and then you just went boom, right? And after that round, you were like, hey man, you got to be careful, right? Because I know that move, and I also know the counter to it, right? So again, to circle back to what we were saying, the yi, or the intention, just because you whether you do have fighting experience or not, if you come into sanda, wushu sanda specifically, if you want to succeed at this sport, there are very sport specific skills you got to get good at, right? Maybe you don't like them, maybe you don't agree with them, but if you want to get good at this specific combat sport, you got to understand the specific techniques, the metas, the tactics. And in this instance, you were more experienced than myself, right? So I was like, oh man, so then it actually kind of does matter your experience and knowing the techniques and the counters, and it's very specific to wushu sanda, right? You're not going to get that from just Muay Thai or kickboxing or karate or taekwondo. This is very sport specific to wushu sanda. You know,
Thank you, brother.
um, and
Thank you.
and man, like you went to Worlds, I did not. So you have experience. You're a veteran. You know, I can say my personal experience. Sparring is not fighting, but sparring is an indication of how things would go. Because when you advised me to spar with that other 56 kg fighter, um, it gave me an indication of what my path to success was, and what my weaknesses were. And even though the same exact things didn't happen in sparring, the dynamic played out exactly the way it did in the fight. Like I was like, okay, this is probably going to go the exact way I did. And if it weren't for your experience and you giving your time and dedication and advice to me, again, like I, I
Thank
don't think I would have been as
you.
lucky as I was.
No,
By
thank
the
you.
way,
Thank
by the way, just to circle back to the question we're trying to answer about the carryover of Taolu skills to Sanda, right? Um, the two things I want to mention when I started going to focus specifically on training Sanda competitively. Um, Sifu Jonathan Arend, who I mentioned, introduced me to Tongbei Wuxue. He gave me some advice when I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do in 2019. I didn't make the Taolu team, and I didn't know what I wanted to do for my future plans. And when I asked him about fighting, because he had actually fought the Lei Tai tournament as well,
okay.
and he said, I'm not going to pretend that pride didn't have anything to do with it, and I might get hurt, but that's a risk that I should be willing to accept. And those two things really gave me perspective. They sound really simple, but when you hear it from someone that you respect and someone that you look up to, and you defer to their experience, it puts things into perspective better. So it matters who you hear things from and what you hear as well. So shout out to Sifu Jonathan Arend. If it weren't for him, I probably wouldn't have taken the leap to do Sanda. Without, yeah, I know people, apparently people like to throw my name around a lot in the Wushu community, but let me tell you something, man. Without you, without Sifu Jonathan Arend, without my Wushu senior Jason Liu, there would be no Matthew Lee in Wushu Sanda. Truthfully, and the second thing that inspired
Thank
me to
you.
go. Thank you, of
Thank
course,
you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Because I'm
of
sorry,
course,
because
of course.
your words, oh man, I don't want to get I'm sorry.
It's
But
okay.
I since I met you in Beijing, and I knew the guy, like the heart of that guy, like the competitor, like the guy who, like you said, like I'm a nerd. No man, you are an athlete, and you need to change that. And let me tell you why. Because man, you are a USA Sanda fighter, and you were a USA Taolu athlete also.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And since I know you, man, you have that heart, and people love you. We love you, and many people love you because you are so humble in what you do, and you are so realistic in what you do, that everything you want to achieve, your goals, you go for it. And I feel like I feel honored about your words about myself, because even when you fought my student Memo, I
Guillermo
told
Rodriguez. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
told him, man, this guy is my brother. You're my student. I love you. Please do your best, both of you. It's
Mm,
like I love you both, guys, and I feel like, man, like you gotta fight my brother, like, and you gotta fight my student, and it is what it is. It's a competition, and
yeah.
I always say something. I don't know if you know Mike Lee.
The
Mi-
Cholefak guy. He trained
yes,
under Top Mawang on
Mike
Patmon.
Lee. Mike Lee is from California, and
Okay.
he was my first fight when I jumped to US after
Really?
I retired. Yeah, he was in 65 kilograms, and then I was fighting in 50. So you can imagine I had a lot of muscle there, and man, I love that guy, and it was a good fight. Um, he won. But but man, we kick each other like so bad. I kick him, he kicked me, he punched me, I punched him. Like it was really, it was really fun fight. I loved it. But let me tell you something. I got a brother there because Lei Tai makes brothers. I don't think about that. Like, if I fight you tomorrow, let's say, man, you're my brother. Even if you knock me out, I'm gonna be fucking happy because of that. Because man, my brother knocked me out. Like, he's better than me. He's good. He's good. I'm not like, oh, he knocked me out. I hate that guy. No, man. I always said, late type makes brothers. And bro, I hope I'm 38 year old. I'm going to turn 39 this year, and I have a little thing. Of course, I want to fight again. I want to, but my life right now is difficult to say. But man, you, Matthew, man, do your what you love, man. You are in this path for some reason, and I hope you have a mission. And to everyone, guys, who's watching this video, let me tell you something. This guy here, this handsome guy here, he is one of the most humble guys you going to meet in this sport in your life. And let me tell you something about the World Games. This guy here, he was one of the responsible with like who make this happen in that World Championship in Dallas. He was with me, helping me with the Wessing owner, Fu,
Mr.
Mr.
Fu,
Fu.
Mr. Fu. Oh man, we got stories.
Man, we have stories with that guy that day, and man, we did our best in the Sanda and the warm-up area and Taulu areas. This guy here is one of the guys. And then you also was responsible of the media?
Yeah, yeah. I got pulled into the ENG team. I don't know if I should say this. Well, I guess I could say it now. Because it already happened. But when the organizing committee, the local organizing committee, the LOC, was putting together the live streaming, they were figuring out the logistics for the live streaming.
Okay.
They got a production company, and thankfully the live streaming worked out. They had moving cameras and everything, and the live stream turned out great, thankfully, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't have the money for an ENG team, so they decided to create one independently.
Okay.
And because I was kind of already voluntold to social media for the 16th World Wushu Championships, they thought it was a natural choice for me to be part of the ENG team, which is for those that don't know, I didn't know this either. I had to look this up. The first time I heard ENG, I didn't know what it meant. I looked it up. It stands for Electronic News Gathering. So it's basically a holistic, to my understanding, a holistic view of how to be able to tell a story and create a narrative for a sport. Kind of similar to how the UFC does promos for their fighters and how they build up hype for events, and I kind of that's the example I come up with because I'm a fan of martial arts. I'm also a fan of fighting as well. So I was like, I want to do that for my sport. I love wushu. I want it to be seen, and I want it to be done well. So I was a team member there. We also got Matthew Choi, aka Blue Hippo Films, on YouTube. Luna Franco, who is Lunshu Media on social media as well. And we were able to work with Martha Burr and oh my god, I forgot her name. I think her last name is Liu Dajie. No, she's younger than me. She's not Dajie. She's not older than me. She's not an older sister. Jiemei. I'll just call her sister, Liu Jiemei. And of course Queenie Lee, who was a collegiate wushu competitor. She's a Taolu competitor as well. She was collegiate wushu champion in women's advanced wushu in 2018 when I first met her. All of them are experienced in the sport, and they not just them but everybody in the volunteering team worked their asses off to make sure that this championship looked like it was well run. By the way, before I forget, I just wanted to say, I wasn't going to say anything, but I have to be thankful to you and Guillermo as well for being part of my wushu story. Because do you remember when the 56 kg division was nothing. It was just me and him in 2022, and I had no idea what I was doing. Just windmilling my punches like this the whole time, you know. But you guys are part of my wushu story. Without you guys,
Thank
there
you.
would have been no legitimate fight on my record, right?
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
uh, by the way, I got to give him credit. That guy kept coming. I didn't knock him out. I didn't knock him down once. And the second fight, the last fight that we had, was way different than the first fight we had. You know, like I kept moving back. I was trying to pull him into my game, and when I tried to come forward, Guillermo, he is a Sanda fighter. You know, he's not stupid, right? So when people are like, "Oh, well, why don't you just stand there and trade?" Man, in Sanda, the scoring system is
Yeah.
such a way where you can't just stand there and trade, because the judges, number one, they specifically are told you should not score, sloppy exchanges. So if you see people going in a dogfight like this, don't score anything. Don't score a single thing. Unless one person lands a clean shot, boom, moves the guy. Displacement is one of clear displacement is one of the criteria for scoring strikes. The other is sound, right? If I make
Yeah.
a sound on the thigh, or I make a clap on the chest protector,
Yes.
or on the headgear as well, right? Um and you know uh in that second fight, I remember, I threw head kicks. I tried to throw head kicks in all my fights, right? In the first fight that I had in last year's 2023 nationals, the last time I fought, um I threw a kick, and it shook the guy, right? And I remember you telling me, man, if that head kick changed everything. I was like, really? And I watched the fight back, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess it did. um when I fought Guillermo, I kicked him in the head twice, and it didn't move him. He kept coming.
Man, let me
Two things: either that guy is a tough motherfucker, or I just kick like a bitch. I don't know, right?
let me tell you something. um, I was Guillermo's sparring partner before
Uh,
the fights. In the
that makes sense. That makes sense. You both.
actually Rodrigo.
Yeah,
Rodrigo.
yeah.
He's
Oh, dude, that guy's a monster. He's
yeah,
scary.
yeah, and so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna compete. I'm going to be your sparring partner. And he gave me a hard times, but I don't know. I think everyone, and I had that in Jakarta in Indonesia. I think everyone. Um, Sometimes when you go to the late time, maybe sometimes your mind, anxieties, many stress. Sometimes something happens, and I told him, man, you're gonna fight Matthew. He's my brother. You fight him last year. You know him. I think what I just need to do is just to guide you. You spar with me, I spar with him, and both of you are good. So enjoy the fight. Is what I'm telling him. Enjoy the fight. You gotta have a good fight. And he said, like, yes, coach. And I saw him, man, like fighting with you and both of you. And then when you kick him to the face, and then he's still like, I say, like, he really into
He's
it.
got he's got heart. He deserves to be in Sanda.
No, he
I,
really.
I look forward to seeing him compete in the
Yeah.
future.
Right now he's in another city. He's a
Oh,
rock
okay.
star. He's a rock
He's a
star right
rock
now.
star.
He have a
Okay,
band,
all right.
really, really good. And
Hey, good for
he's
him, man.
yeah, he's chasing a different these different dreams. But I love that guy. I really love Memo. I really love everyone, guys. And my students is like it's my family, and but also you, man. Like we are in the team,
I
and
appreciate that.
once you're a team, you're always a team.
I appreciate that. Also, the one other thing I wanted to mention that, sorry, I'm all over the place, but
It's your
I want to
podcast,
give,
bro.
no, it's okay. I just want to give everyone their due. One of the things that kind of inspired me to convert from Taolu to Sanda, personally, was actually an interview with U.S. Wushu champion and team member Colin Lee. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
he had an interview on Jayo.com, right?
yeah,
That's Jayo with a single O,
yeah,
.com, not to be
mhm,
confused with the Jayu Wushu,
yeah,
the OO on Facebook and Instagram. Um, Jayo with one O under, I think, Brennan Sugiyama.
yeah, yeah,
Had an
yeah. Mhm.
interview with him, and unfortunately, I can't find that interview anymore. I think it's under an old domain that's now defunct, so I can't find that interview anymore. But Um, in that interview, I specifically remember reading that Colin Lee um, was not selected to go to the wushu tournament Beijing in 2008. Um, I recall hearing that it was because of some you had to qualify at a certain uh, uh, ranking at the previous 2007. I think it was the ninth World Wushu Championships. Um, yeah, I think. And he was not selected to go. So kind of like me, he didn't know what he wanted to do. So when he went back to his old martial arts school, I think it was Richard Lee's East West Kung Fu. Now it's just called East West Kung Fu. But when he went back, his instructor asked, "Do you want to fight?" He said, "Okay." So he actually ended up fighting in Guoshu Lei Tai, here in Maryland, and I believe he's actually the longest reigning lightweight champion.
Colin
Um,
Lee is Mr. Bicep, right? I think in Instagram, something like that. Yeah.
oh,
Am
no,
I wrong?
no, but
No.
he's ripped. He's ripped. I seen him with his shirt off,
Yeah,
man.
I know that guy.
I
He's
wish
also,
I had that kind of body, man. Jeez.
yeah,
But
yeah, he's
but
insane.
anyways, he fought at like I think 121.3 pounds. That's even lighter than 56 kg
Yeah,
technically.
like at 52
When
kilos.
yeah, when that was the lightest weight, and that was
Yeah,
called lightweight under the
yeah,
Guoshulei Tai. Then they changed it in 2015 to 132. That's 60 kg.
yeah.
So obviously he goes up technically, but it's the same weight class. It's still called lightweight. But he is the longest reigning lightweight champion in that tournament, and that always inspired me. Like he literally was the one guy. Matt Stamp on YouTube has a video of him fighting back in 2011, and it was titled "Wushu Guys Can Fight," and that was always inspiring to me. Like that was like, oh, okay, well if he can do it, maybe me. I don't know, but that was the other inspiration that um
And
pushed
actually,
me.
that
Yeah.
was one of the questions I have for you. Actually,
Yeah,
is that one like what is? I have another question for you. What is your most memorable career moment so far?
most memorable, dude. This is actually easier to answer because we just talked about Guillermo. It's the first fight with Guillermo.
Really?
Not yet. Yes. You want to know why? Because number one, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I have more experience in Taolu. You could argue that because I have more experience in Taolu, I'm actually better at Taolu than I am at Sanda. I actually have very limited experience in Sanda. And I'm okay. I can live with that. I can walk away knowing that
But
that that
you're doing good, man.
right. No. Right. But the real reason that I wanted to do Sanda was not because I wanted to be a champion and not even because I wanted to be a team member. It was because I wanted to know what it felt like to have a fight before I was 30. Because I wasn't getting any younger.
I
I'm
love
I'm
that.
older, but I'm not old.
I love.
And here's the thing. Sifu Jonathan Aaron said one other thing, and I totally forgot to mention this, but he said, and it's serendipitous that he said this, but he said something along the lines of, I can't look at my students with a straight face and tell them about fighting without having experienced fighting myself. So he went out there and did it, and that inspired me. Like his honesty, that inspired me. More Chinese martial arts teachers should be more honest like that. And for me, I was like, I should do that too because if I'm gonna talk about martial applications and martial theory, I should also know what it feels like to get punched in the face. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that one fight with Guillermo, I was so happy. I felt like I was like I felt like I was on in the clouds because I finally got to do something that I didn't think I could do. Right? Maybe other people probably said that I shouldn't do it. For sure they were like, "Oh, don't do Sanda. You should stay in Taolu, whatever." But really the only one that stopped me was me thinking, "Oh, I can't do it," and then still training because I enjoyed it to a point where I thought maybe I can do it. Maybe I can have a reasonable chance of success at this, and eventually getting to do it. Honestly, Guillermo could have beat me, and I would have been okay with it. I wouldn't have been sad. I know because when I qualified to go to Pan Am's, Mark literally comes up to me and Tyler after we won our fights, and he's walking up to us and he's like juggling something in his hands, like peanuts or something. He looks like he's eating something. I don't know, right? And then he goes, "I just want to let you guys know you're invited to Pan Am's," and we're like, "What?" Right? So we trained for Pan Am's. We went there, and I lost very quickly. I lost by
You fought with Argentina, I think, right?
correct. Kevin Felicion.
Yeah,
of
it
Argentina.
was it
Yeah,
was a good fight.
I got eliminated quite quickly in the second round. And this fight, ironically, is the fight that people watch the most out of all my fights, and it has the most likes. I don't know if it's because they
Let
get
me.
to see my international stage or I get beat up. I don't know,
Do,
but
do,
yeah,
do,
yeah,
do you remember when I told you about like you should train with your weight classes? That
yes. And
guy
here's the
was
thing.
that
That,
was
that
was shorter than you.
that exactly. And you know what sucked? And this is just look. I'm not blaming anybody. It's
No, no.
just it is what it is. But the fact of the matter is, at Goes Kung Fu, the only other serious fighter was Tyler, heavyweight. I'm the lightest fighter. I'm literally probably the lightest guy, barring children, of course, that train under
Yeah, but it's not
you know
the same thing. Yeah, of
right,
course.
right, right, right. But it's literally just him and me, and I'm the little guy. I'm the one running around, right? But
Yeah,
truthfully,
I understand.
even though I'm a skinny guy, I'm considered a tall 56 kg fighter.
Yeah,
Literally
actually, you
everyone that I fought is actually shorter than me, right? So when I just train with just Tyler and I'm getting used to this big guy, and then I go up there and then literally I go up to the Lei Tai and I face Kevin Felicion, right? And then the ref goes, Yue Kaiser, right? And this guy just straight up just starts going backwards. And then I was like, what the
what
fuck?
the?
This is not right. I did not train for this, right? So what happened? My inexperience got to me. I just kept rushing forward. Jason Liu talked to me about it. I kept falling in love with the lead leg kick, the Chen Bian Kui, right? Which is a useful scoring weapon, but if you just do that by itself, if you're one dimensional, your opponent will catch on to you. And the fact of the matter was, and this is just the truth, he was better than me. You
But
know?
let me tell you something that I saw.
Mm,
He was. I'm very. He. I don't want to say this like because I have a different style, but my style is like a counter, and that
mm.
guy is what he did. He was
Exactly. He
counter
he
you.
played the full game. He played what I try to do with
Yeah,
everybody else at nationals, right?
yeah.
And the fact of the matter was, I remember Coach Albert Treto was
Oh yeah,
one of my cornermen. Coach Lee was the other cornerman, right? And uh we walk out with our opponent together, right? We walk out, we wait, we watch the fight before us, and then we walk out to our separate sides, right? And while we were walking, Coach Trito said, use your range, and I'm like,
yeah.
for sure, right? Because this guy's shorter than me, right? And it worked well for like maybe 30 seconds, maybe. And then this guy started taking me down. I was like, okay, I'm still in this fight. And I keep just plodding forward. And this guy just still keeps catching my kicks and taking me down. He adjusted and I didn't. That's just the truth. And that's a testament to his experience. I remember talking with a wrestling coach and a jiu-jitsu black belt, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt in Baltimore Jiu-Jitsu in Maryland. Coach Rob Sullivan, right? See again, Sifu Jonathan Aaron connected me to him after I lost that fight because everybody knows watching from that fight that I lost by virtue of wrestling. And this guy looked at that fight, and what he told me was, "Yeah, this guy moves like an Argentinian boxer, and he
Yeah.
has a Gracie style double leg. This guy, come to find out, Kevin Felicion is some kind of sponsored professional MMA fighter and a boxer and kickboxer as well.
Yeah.
I don't get sponsored. I'm an amateur. Like no wonder this guy's better than me. He's more experienced as a fighter. Period.
But
So
but
yeah.
but what I think is that's the good thing. I actually we saw this in Dallas.
Mm,
Actually I mentioned that in the podcast in one that I just did by myself about like you can see the difference sometimes. Argentina, they have a lot of boxers because there's
mm,
not a lot of sanda like many other Latin American countries. So that's why you can see the feeling, you can see the movement, you can see the footwork, you can see the calves. You know,
right.
you can recognize a boxer, and you recognize a boxer with sanda skills.
Mm,
So I think this time in Dallas, what I learned, what I was in the bag, and the just the few fights I saw that day, and then I saw I watched in YouTube, but this time there was a lot of clash, a lot.
mm,
I don't know
mhm.
why. Before the other generation, because now we have new generation, so that's the why.
Do you think it's an experience and competition level that was there?
No, this is what I'm going to. I think the new generation going to change the game.
Okay.
They have a difference. They have a different type of fight. If you watch the last junior worlds, some of them jump to to the adults, and they're fighting with adults with experience. And you can see the new juniors, they still like they still not into the adult rules. So they try to go a lot of clinch and clinch and
Mm,
clinch.
mm,
Papa, it's
okay.
easier for them. But in Argentina, with what I like from the Pan American Games is like you see a lot of boxing skills,
Mm,
and that's what Russia and Iran is doing. That's why China adapt to boxing.
mm,
If you see Brazilians, what they do a lot of MMA skill. They have a lot of MMA skills because they have jiu-jitsu, sanda, muay thai, and
Tudo, yeah.
a lot. And if in the this Sorin from Brazil, the
Lucas
what?
Sorin, Lucas Sorin,
Yeah,
yeah.
man. He said he mentioned in the podcast, man. I don't train sanda. I do MMA. I do MMA is what I do. Before a competition, I know my skills. I know I'm going through. I know what I'm going to do. I need to. I'm doing MMA, and he told me in Dallas, man, I was like this to be in the UFC, but my competitor he suffered something, and I was out to be a UFC fighter. Last like a 5 months ago. So like Lubbock, like Yuma. I love the way they train. I really appreciate to Coach Lee because
Very, very technical. Very
of
technical.
no, and I want to mention this, Coach Lee. If you're watching this, thank you for all the opportunities you gave me, and I'm not doing this, to um like, oh, I love, no, it's because
Yeah.
I appreciate when people help me and when people believe on me. Coach Lee, Corey, and Bruce helped me a lot. And actually, my captain, my always captain, Gary Chandler. And man, the way they practice, like this, the continuous sparring, of course, that gotta help. That gotta help. And the way the technique they have, that's why they are the best in America. The knowledge of Coach Lee, the knowledge of Corey, and the knowledge of Bruce, man, they're monsters. That's why you can see Vincent going there, you going there, we going there here in US, even other people from Houston going there with him, because at the end they have that knowledge and that methodology. And actually, we watched it with the YouTuber, the what's the name, Sid
Sensei
said,
Seth. Seth
who?
Adams. Sensei Seth. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, man,
Those were great videos, man.
that was a great marketing for Sanda, and I really want to thank that guy. I just met him in Dallas,
Mm.
and I want to say like thank you, man, because you gave us the opportunity to show to America and the world more about Sanda.
He's a really stand up guy. He's exactly the way he seems in his
Yeah,
YouTube videos.
yeah,
Just like Jeff Chan or MMA Shredded in
yeah.
on YouTube. They're very genuine people. I've had the privilege to meet them both, and we actually tried to get Jeff Chan out to Worlds as well.
Okay,
Um, Unfortunately, it didn't work out. He really wanted to come, but he actually gave his word to Rokas, the Aikido guy. I think
okay.
it's Ultimate Journey on YouTube, that he would go back to Australia to film the second season of the Ultimate Self Defense Championship.
Wow.
So, I mean, obviously, he's a man of his word. If he says he's going to do something, then he's going to go do something, right?
Okay.
So, but you know what though? It worked out that it was Sensei Seth, because if you look at the brand of those two YouTubers, Jeff Chan is more about going and showing sparring techniques and showing sparring and breaking down sparring. Sensei Seth is about trying different martial arts
Yeah.
and covering a sport. And that was Serena Chai's idea. So full credit to Serena Chai. Not my idea at all, but I was fully on board. I was like, yes, if we can get him, let's do it, because number one, he's genuine, he's honest.
Yes.
He's part of that that new movement of martial arts YouTubers that are they really challenge traditional rhetorics, and they're really about transparency and honesty about what a specific martial arts modality or practice does,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I honestly I feel like if we want to promote Sanda, you need that. You need to be
yeah,
honest, right?
yeah, yeah. Of
You,
course.
and we don't need to pretend that we're better than anybody else. It's just, hey, these are the specific skills that we are good at, and this is our sport.
And something that I like from that video is like his part with Livingston.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And Livingston
And
did Guan. He did this to him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And something that I love from him, like from Sid Seth,
Yes.
it was like, man, Sanda, it's hard, like it's not easy. Like Sanda, it's Sanda. Like he mentioned a lot of things that I always say. Like even if you're an MMA fighter, if you train Sanda, and man, you'll see in Lubbock, like they're doing jiu-jitsu, they're doing Sanda and MMA. If you combine, and actually Kung Lee, he always
Mm,
said, man, I'm a Sanda fighter, but then I adapt to MMA, and man, that's why he's the story, man. Like he have his own story in MMA,
hmm
because all the Sanda skills, even Muslim
Yes. Yes.
Salikov mentioned that Sanda is one of the most hardest sport he tried.
I was
And
about to say George Saad said this as well in the
yes,
last
exactly.
episode.
All the Sanda fighters I know who jump to MMA, they always say like, man, Sanda is hard. Of course, hey, MMA is hard. Of course, every boxing, aikido, karate, no matter what, even golf, even baseball, everything is hard. If you're training in a high level, of course. But I really, I think, and I think that this YouTube channel, that guy from Sensei said,
Mm,
that really helped a lot.
yeah, 100%. A
100%.
hundred percent. 100%.
A lot of people saw that video, and I love. I really like the way how Corey
Mm,
explained everything. I like Corey has uh I don't know, that personality about like he explained everything in the right and correct way, and I really like that because you can see that, and you can mention about like, okay, I learned this from Corey. Oh, I learned this from Livingston, and now this guy who came to our world is telling like, man, how hard it is.
no disrespect to Muay Thai.
Oh,
You know,
oh, yeah,
honestly, Coach Lee said privately with Lao Shi Mark at Goes Kung Fu at the first time he taught Sanda seminar series, like, Mark, Muay Thai is the best, right? As far as like uh complete
it's
striking,
striking.
yes.
Striking.
I had the opportunity to pick Coach Lee's brain about that, and he said for striking, yes, but for all around, probably MMA. I would almost amend that to say vale tudo, because in Brazil, vale tudo, there were no rules, man. You could headbutt,
Yeah,
you could gouge, you
Valetudo is MMA actually, but
yeah, but MMA is much more accessible, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
It's just like saying, if you're talking about what is the most premier art for submissions, right? It's BJJ. Is it the only one? No, there's also catch wrestling. There's also luta livre, in
Mhm.
also a Brazilian art.
Yeah,
But BJJ is certainly the most accessible one, right? Like you could probably can go anywhere in the country in the U.S. and find a BJJ gym,
yeah.
like
Mhm.
anywhere in your area. Most likely, right? But you know, something that Sensei Seth said is that when he was training in Lubbock last month, when he filmed that video of I tried Sanda. Now it's called I tried Chinese kick. Oh no, Chinese kickboxing is fast, is what he
Yeah,
calls the YouTube video now. But he said right after he sparred, and he'd done years of Muay Thai, right? He was like, this is actually harder than Muay Thai because of the pace.
yeah.
Again, it's a
The
different
rhythm.
sport. When people look at this and say, "Oh, it just looks like kickboxing and Muay Thai to me," yes, it's a kind of kickboxing. You are punching and kicking, but it's still a different sport. The pace is different. It's not 3 minutes; it's 2 minutes. So the pace is totally different. You don't get to wait and feel your opponent out. And the scoring system is such that again, like it's not you hit me, I hit you. It's like, no, you stick and move like a outfighter in boxing. You move, you
Yeah,
know. And it's all again because of the hybrid uh format of combining striking and wrestling, just like MMA, they'll start from further out. They're
Yeah,
not going to stay in there as an infighter, because as soon as you're in infighting range, what are they going to do? They're going to clinch, right? In Chinese, they say 远踢近打贴身摔. That means you kick from afar. When you're close, you punch, and when you're up close against the body, that's
yeah.
when you wrestle.
To wrestle,
You
yeah,
know?
Qingda, yeah. Actually, I think with all respect to every sport, and remember, this podcast is not to talk shit about other combat sport now.
No,
So
absolutely not. Absolutely
I just want to clarify this, but this something. Uh, multi fighters, like, yeah, they're really good in striking. Even like the kickboxers, like Waco, they're really good fighting in ring. But what Sanda have is, as you said, the pace, the rhythm, like pa 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 pa. Like it's more like you're a light, a lighter, like pa pa pa. 1, 2, 3, clean. Pa 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 pa.
Very
Okay,
anaerobic. Very anaerobic. It's not like
very.
a marathon. It's like a sprint. You got to go.
It's not like oh yeah, oh yeah, no, it's different. And actually, in China, we don't have here, but in China, there's a professional Sanda, the Sanda League, which you can use elbows, knees, because many people like, oh, Sanda only. No, 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 no. There's a professional league in China, not here in America, but there's a professional league. They allow to do everything: elbows, punch, kicks, knees, try out, wrestling, takedowns. The only thing they don't have is floor.
I think Brazil is also
Yeah,
creating their own league too,
yeah,
right?
yeah. They are
Mm,
starting to do that.
They're they're
But,
they're they're way ahead of us. We got to catch up.
but man, of course, man. Like if I hope one day, I hope one day we can have that chance here in America. And I'm inviting you I'm to everyone, guys. If you have the chance to go and practice Sanda, if you're an MMA fighter, actually, I know a lot of MMA fighters. One of those, Paris from
Paris
Houston,
Moran, number one ranked flyweight in
my
Fury
brother.
FC,
Like,
baby. Fury FC
man,
flyweight champion.
man. Let me tell you this. I know he's gonna be in UFC soon. He's a beast. I love that guy. But one of the secrets is like he's a really good Sanda fighter. And I hope, Paris, I hope one day you can be here in the podcast. And
We got to get Paris and his
yeah.
coach Alex, the
Oh,
Pan
Alex
American,
Isner also.
well,
Yeah, Alex
both Pan
Isner.
American champions. You
Yeah,
got
of
to have
course.
him on here.
Yeah, of course. Alex Isner is another guy. I really love that guy. I really feel good to be with him in the team in Costa Rica with both of them. And man, Alex is RoboCop. He's a Terminator. Yeah, honestly, he's the Terminator of Osanda in US. Honestly, I and very very strict in his training. Like I don't have words how to describe this, but guys, again, actually he fought Muslim Salikov, I think.
I remember I messed up my Gunshu event in 2014 Costa Rica Pan Am's. It was like a Shuangaiba.
Yeah,
It's this movement, but you do this with the gunba, the butt of the staff. You strike
yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah,
ground.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I messed up that movement. I hit my inner thigh. It's some stupid shit. I was so stupid. I
Yeah,
could
I
have
remember. Yeah, well, actually, we were
I
like,
could have done the move way better. I was so upset, and he gave me some advice. He's like, "Yeah, man, when I fought Muslim Salikov, that's when I first heard that. I was like, you fought Muslim
yeah,
Salikov?" And I'm like, "Is there a video?" And when I talked to Corey or somebody about it, they're like, "I'm sure it's somewhere." And it's like, where is it? I want to
yeah.
that'd be an interesting video. Like
You
I'd
know,
want to see that.
I met Alex in the airport in Canada in 2009. That was my first world championship in when I was in the Mexico team in Taulu. And I met him, and he speaks Spanish also. We started to speak Spanish, and we made a good friendship there. Like,
He's
yeah,
Nicaraguan, right? He's Nicaraguan.
yeah, his their parents, yeah,
Okay, okay.
and man, he's amazing guy, and man, he was like his body, like damn, like this guy, he
He's
looks like
built. He
RoboCop,
he
really
he, he is built.
tough, really, and I saw him fight, and I was like, wow, this guy, wow, he kick ass. But
Great,
well,
great movement, fast sidekick. Oh my god.
yeah, man. So just to go to the almost, we're going to finish this podcast, brother.
Yes, yes, yes.
Tell me something. What is your goal? What is your expectation for this year? What do you want to do? Um, or what's your mission in this sport? Tell me, brother, because man, you always there, man. You're the library of wushu, and I love the way how you mentioned about like I want to try this. I mean, there's many people who want to try sanda and they scared. Man, let me chill this. But okay, but first, you. What do you expect? What are your expectations for this year, man?
Well, okay, so last year, I guess I can kind of say this because I don't really have a problem saying it anymore.
If you don't, yeah, you don't have to.
No, 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 no. It's fine. It's fine. I'll talk about anything. Last year, was my last year as a competitor.
Why?
This, well,
Okay.
the main thing is okay. Let's be real here. The main thing is realistically, there's nothing more I can really achieve as a competitor, while still competing at the level that I want to compete at, and still, improve. Like, let's be honest. I'm not old, but I am older. I'm
How old are
30.
you,
I'm 30.
brother? I'm 38.
I know. Okay. Here's the
I'm
thing.
leaving.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. In my perspective, it would be different if I was 20, right? In my 20s, I learned you can do anything you set your mind to. When I became 30, I realized, okay, you really can only focus on one thing in terms of being productive, you know? Um, and the reason why I feel that way is because number one, like I never wanted to be a competitor to be a champion. Like to do it for glory, in my opinion, is not the right moral reason. I just did it because I wanted experience. The truth of the matter is, after that first fight with Guillermo, I was actually happy to walk away. And then I got invited to Pan Am's, and then I was like, all right, well, let's just see how good. That's the only reason why I stayed. I just wanted to see. After I lost to Kevin Felicion, and by the way, just to circle back to your first question, right? When they raised up Kevin Felician's hand, I was not upset at all. I was like, yep, I lost. In the second round, I lost by push out twice. I got two ring outs. He forced me off the Lei Tai twice within the first minute of the second round. So, he won both rounds, and right away I got eliminated, right? I was actually okay with that because winning or losing doesn't matter to me anymore. When I didn't make the Taolu team in 2019, it sucked, right? But I accepted it because deep down I sort of already processed the fact of, hey, listen, man, there are people that are going to be better than you. You're not going to win every time. That's the truth. There really can only be one champion at a time, and it's not always going to be you. And to go back to that fight with Kevin Felicion. The funny thing is that's actually the first time I landed Shobieta, right? And Coach Lee was like, I think, Miff, you get this in Brazil. That's my last time competing in Pan Am's, right? But and the funny thing about that is I ended up showing that to other people, right? Mark says, "Oh, Matt's the champ at doing this. He always talks me up. He's awesome, right?" But I wanted to answer your previous question of what was the most meaningful
Yeah.
moment for me. Taolu is a huge part of my life, but fighting mattered to me because I needed to know if I could do it, right? So when they raised my hand in my first fight, like I kind of yelled. I was like, ah, because I had a mouth guard. I would have shouted louder, truthfully, but I actually lost my voice. I didn't tell anybody this publicly, but I was actually sick the week that we were taking the Pan American Wushu Federation judges course together. That's why I
Oh,
wore a mask.
I
Because
remember. Yeah.
yeah, because people thought it was the weight cut, and it may have had something to do with that. But I actually had slept. It was really really hot in my room for some reason. I mean, for some reason, it was summer, right? And the AC was not working. So I went to the basement and I slept on my old college mattress that I used to sleep on when I was going to college. And the basement was cool. Unfortunately, uh, my body doesn't react very well to temperature changes very well. So I end up having a very, very bad, I think it's an immune reaction. But basically, if you have a drastic change in temperature, I end up getting sick really badly. So I was training and cutting weight at the same time, and I was
Of
really, really
course.
tired for
Immune
some reason,
system go
right?
down. Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
and I almost considered pulling out of my fight. But then I was like, no, 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 no. I have to do this. I need to do this. I have to have one fight before I'm 30. If I win or if I lose, I can't let this stop me. I can't let myself have any excuses, right? And thankfully, I felt better on the day of the weigh-ins. I was completely fine, right? And you know, I can only consider myself lucky that things went the way they did, because when they raised my hand, I didn't shout because I was better or wanted to prove that I was better than anybody. That's not the reason at all. I shouted because that was for me. I conquered my fear, right? Either that whole thing about fighting is 90% mental and 10% physical. I now understand what that means, especially after I lost to Kevin Felicion, because it's like I was all up in my head, right? And part of that is lack of experience, you know. Um, and but that first fight will always mean something to me. The other fights, truthfully, I kind of don't really care about. They show how I improved, and that's important to me. Because so now I know. That's the only reason why I kept competing, is I just need to know, how good am I? I think we all know now. Like me staying in it is not gonna make a huge difference, you know. But that first fight will always mean something to me, because everybody got to see me as a Taolu guy fighting. I think you can actually hear in the first round some guy in the back of the camera going, "Hey, is that the Taolu guy? The guy in the red shorts, right?" And
Yeah.
he said he heard somebody say, "Hey, props to you for making the jump." And the funny thing is that I don't I don't think anybody cared about me when I was still competing in Taolu. People might have known who I was, but nobody really cared, right? And then suddenly people start talking about me doing Sanda now. And I remember talking to Coach Juan Carlos Proano
Oh yeah.
in Brasilia, in Brazil, and we were literally sitting in the stands, and he was like, "I didn't know you could fight like that." You know? So to me, it's really really funny, because Sanda is not even my specialty. It's not what I'm good at. It's just what I wanted to do.
But you
Uh,
are.
well, I
You are.
appreciate that, but
Man,
but to answer your last question, for this year, I'm transitioning my focus on doing what I can to help promote Wushu Sanda. Because here's the thing, some of the things that I noticed when I came back from my first year of fighting after Pan Am's. Just a quick story, real quick.
yeah, no,
Um,
it's good podcast.
I actually split my time between two schools, Ghost Kung Fu and CPMMA, where there were actual flyweights. I forgot to mention this, but these guys were actually fighters my size. If we recall, Tyler was the only sparring partner, a serious fighter in Ghost Kung Fu. But if I went to College Park MMA, now Combat Principles MMA in Maryland, where Jason Liu, my Wushu senior, also went to under Coach Joshua Peters, shout out to CPMMA. They had actual flyweights, Sergio Andrade, Isaiah Dianarain, right? These guys were Muay Thai fighters, but they were actual flyweights. They fought at 125 pounds. So they
Oh
were around my size. So
yes.
so I could move with these guys and still practice with the same speed, right? So to them, I'm very grateful. Coach Joshua Peters also helped me with my weight cut as well. Without him, I would not have been able to pull it off as smoothly and as successfully as I have. And it taught me a lot about my health and my diet and how diet affects your body. But when I came back to them, one of the coaches of I think it was the Compound in Maryland, another gym in Maryland, he said, "Hey Matt, there's a Sanda tournament here, right?" And I was like, "What? I didn't know there was a Sanda tournament here." Edgar, did you know that there was a Sanda tournament in Maryland? I didn't know.
Nope.
But it was at the U.S. Capitol Classics under Grandmaster Dennis Brown, under Tian Shanpai Grandmaster Dennis Brown. And the reason why is because Coach Joshua Peters had been pushing for Sanda to be a competition event there, and he actually made it happen. But nobody heard about it. It was their second year doing it apparently in 2022, and no one had heard about it. I didn't hear about it. I'm the Sanda. I'm the Wushu nerd. I'm a fan of Wushu and Sanda. How do I not know about this, right? And the reason why I think is because of this, right? When people ask about why Sanda is not bigger, I think the truth of the matter is a lot of the people that are behind the organization don't know how to promote it. And a huge part of that is the Chinese culture of being too insular. They're too in their own little spaces. They're too in their own little clubs of, oh, we'll figure out our own way to do things, but they're not going to reach out to other people to see if
Yeah.
they have the resources and the knowledge to help them achieve that same goal. So something, this is something that I haven't said publicly, but I'll say it right now. Coach Joshua Peters specifically said to me in person, "I want to help promote Sanda." And I was like, word, bet, let's make it happen, right? And when he told me I want to bring Coach Lee back to Maryland to teach another Sanda seminar series, right? I was like, let's make it happen. So you know what's funny is when we were eating out with Coach Lee at lunch at the April Open Training Camp last year,
Uh-huh.
I actually finally got him on the phone after following up with him many times. I got him on the phone with Coach Joshua Peters, and I got them to arrange a date. And I remember Coach Lee specifically saying, "Hold on a second, Mayfield, right? Because they don't, Chinese people can't really say my name correctly, right? They'll say with the F sound, not TH." He's like, "Well, what's a better date, July or June, right?" And I think I said July because June was when uh, Lauscher Mark Lorenzo, who wanted to be there, had to fly out to Egypt.
Oh,
All
for
the
the
delegates for the IWF judges course to renew
uh
their IWF judges
man,
license, right?
I lost that flight.
Dude, they tried to sell me on that too. Like, hey Matt, are you still interested in being a competitor or being a judge? And I was like, I still want to be a competitor. And they're like, okay, but if you want to be a judge, I'll still vouch for you, right? And it was like, okay, but I still want to compete though. Wouldn't that be a conflict of interest, And I'm not going to say their names because these are
Yeah,
people
yeah,
I
yeah,
actually
yeah,
respect.
yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, the fact that they kind of let this happen, it very easily allows for conflict of interest, and that that doesn't make a good case for the sport of wushu being Olympic. Truthfully, you have to make the best case you can possible to make this Olympic, and if you allow rules like this to be loosely enforced, it's not a good look for the sport. Truthfully, you know, and another reason why I'm kind of okay with not really competing anymore is because I had other responsibilities helping out the wushu community that were directly conflicting with my training. Did you know that someone actually uh, called me on the phone leading up to the 2023 USWKF Sanda National Championships and Team Trials, calling me saying, "Can you be a ring announcer for the kung fu competition on the side?" And I was like, well, I have to fight, right? I'm a competitor first and foremost. And they're like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll move the weigh-in time just for you so that you can weigh in at a different time." And my response, and I said this
Yeah,
honestly, I don't want special treatment just because you guys think I can help, right? And
yeah, yeah. And you're right.
thankfully they found somebody else, right?
Yeah,
But to me it was just like, you want me to be a ring announcer in the middle of a weight cut? What are you talking about, right?
yeah, 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 of
And,
course.
the funny thing is, when I was on the ENG team at Worlds, I was focused on helping out with media, right? And if you believe in God or you're religious, or you believe in a higher power in the universe, this is a sign, if anything, more than anything, that you're probably going to be more, leaning more towards a direction of media for the sport of wushu. And I'm not mad at that because I've always liked that. It's literally like one of those opportunities to be like, hey, you like telling stories, you like showing, making media for your sport, and you're a fan of the sport, it. So it makes total sense to do that, but you can't do both at the same time, right? So for me, I'm not mad at being a competitor anymore, but the truth is, for as long as I'm useful to these wushu people, I don't really see myself advancing much more in my career in Sanda. Truthfully, right? Because you're only one person. You only have 24 hours in a day. You can only do one thing at a time. Truthfully, multitasking doesn't really exist when it comes to huge endeavors. You know, I remember in the closing ceremony. Remember when they announced that the next World Wushu Championships was going to be in Brazil? In my mind, I was like, I ain't fucking going back to Brazil, man. Like, I don't want to go back to Brazil. And Paula Amitani, I apologize, was also on the ENG team. She helped lead us to great success, right? And at the after party, she came up to me. She's like, "So I'll see you in Brazil, right?" And I was like, "If they want me." And she was like, "Oh, but I need you." And I was like, "Shit, all right." So
Okay.
realistically, I'm probably gonna be helping out with media, if not the ENG team, probably media for wushu for the foreseeable future. And
But
I can't really be a competitor at the same time,
yeah, I
even if
know.
I ever made the world team, which I
And
didn't.
and
But
and
if I
and
did, it just can't happen. It just can't.
yeah,
You know?
it's fine. I think you did a lot also. Like as I said, I really want to compete again, and I really, but but sometimes life gave you different, a different path, and sometimes, like in my case, I have my students, they going to compete. I have juniors, they have world games, junior games, world junior games, Pan American games, and I want to focus on that. I'm not gonna lie you, man. I'm dying to go back and compete, but now I have a family is different, I have a business is different, and
Mm.
and I got you. I know what you're talking about. Sometimes you have a different um like, as you say, I compete, I do this, I did that, I just try everything. Like me, I really want to be a international judge, because again, I did everything, as an athlete, as a coach. I was the Mexican junior team coach in the Olympic junior games. I was coach in the second coach in the Sanda Mexican team. I was coach of the junior team, and then coach gave me the chance to be beside him with the junior team as a coach also in US. And it's like, okay, what else I can do? And I understand, because at the end we have a mission in this sport, and I think you're going to do well, man. I think you're doing great, and you have everything, and I wish you the best, because honestly, you have a lot of knowledge, like tons of knowledge in this sport, because you really love this. It's not about because you're a fan, it's because you really love this. And when you love something, you never stop. I'm 38-year-old. I'm start when I was 6 year old. And you know how many times, if you know Samuel, always telling me, hey man, you always retiring, man. You're retiring from since 2010, and you never retire. You're always there. And like, man, because I love this. And it's a reality. Everyone, Corey, Bruce, many people who say like, okay, I'm going to retire, and they go back, because at certain point of our lives we still care about this. And I think and I hope I can see that day when wushu become part of the Olympic Games. I hope I can see that. I hope maybe my son or my daughter can be part of that. I hope one of my students. And I hope maybe one day this YouTube channel about Sanda, I hope one day we can have thousands and thousands of subscribers watching your videos, watching your stories, and then they going to understand how hard we fight to get this beautiful sport to be Olympic sport. I hope that, and I hope maybe one day you're gonna be part of that.
Hey
Why not?
man, we'll see. Honestly, we're closer than we ever were. I believe Wushu
We
is
are
not
like
going to be included as part of
nothing.
the 2026 Dakar Youth Olympics.
Uh-huh.
So that's closer than we ever were. So
Yeah.
who knows? But for me personally, I'm not focused on Taolu anymore. I'm focused on Sanda because of the two. Even though I grew up with Taolu, I love fighting. I love Sanda. And I've always loved it, even when I was a kid. Even though I did forms, I've always loved fighting. I've been a fan of fighting since I was a kid. And, you know, uh, the goal for this year, specifically the goal for this year, is to make that Sanda competition at the U.S. Capital Classics a USAWKF sanctioned Sanda tournament. And a tangible goal for that is to get a Lei Tai over to the East Coast. Because if we can do that, we can start holding competitions on the East Coast, right? I remember Corey when he was on this podcast. He specifically said we need at least 3 national level competitions,
Yeah.
right?
Actually, that's supposed this year I'm going to host a competition, national competition here.
Okay.
But for some reasons, something happened. So
Okay.
but I have a surprise next year for in San Antonio, Texas. So
Okay.
we have something like we're gonna have a national in South of South Texas. And actually, Mr. Go and Coach Lee always they asking me, "Hey man, you need to start making doing something there. You need to."
Mm.
And it's gonna be fun because, of course, I'm gonna invite people from Mexico to come compete, people from Brazil. It's gonna be. I have a really good a surprise for you guys in the future. But man, I really appreciate your time.
Of
I
course,
of course, man, we have hours and hours, and I
we
know
can go
that.
on forever. We can go on forever.
Yeah, we can go on, but man, just to finish this podcast, do you have any message for the for people, like for the youth, like people who starting training this, something that you want to give us as a message?
Well, okay. So the first thing I'd like to say right off the top of my head, I remember when I was still writing wushu articles for Jiayu Wushu. That's the
Yeah.
Jiayu with the two O's. He he I wrote a very popular article that said three life lessons competitive wushu teaches. Now I was only doing Taolu at the time, but I always still looked at that when I was competing in Sanda as well. And those three lessons are: work hard. Hard work supersedes talent when talent doesn't work hard. Right? Not saying talent doesn't exist, but if talent doesn't work hard and you continue to work hard, you can outwork, literally in fighting, outwork the more talented fighter. The second lesson is be humble. You're not that good. Okay. There's always someone better. And even if you were the best, you're going to get old, and there's always going to be someone younger, hungrier, stronger, faster, more explosive. I experienced it in Taolu, and I was like, dude, these kids are picking this up way faster than me, and they only trained for 2, 3 years. I've been training since I was 7. This is ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
But hey, that's the truth, you know? And the third lesson is don't be afraid of failure. Failure happens, you know? When I didn't make the Taolu team, the junior Taolu team in 2010, and then the adult Taolu team in 2019, you know, it sucked. I felt bad about it, but I accepted it. Failure is part of life. Loss is part of life. If you're not experiencing failure, if you're not experiencing loss, you're not growing. You know, it's just natural. And when I lost to Kevin Felicion, I didn't feel bad at all. It was just like, hey man, that guy's just better. There's nothing you could have done. You know, that fight could have gone the distance, could have gone 3 rounds. You probably still would have lost because that guy was just better. You know, and that actually motivated me. Like even on the plane ride back, I was like, I am not done. I'm going to go back to nationals. I'm going to show that I'm a better fighter. You know, and thankfully I got that chance. Things turned out very lucky for me, and I was very fortunate to get the results I did, and I was able to walk away with my health. You know, um, but the other thing that I like to say before I forget is if you really, really, really want to get into something that you've always wanted to do, but you have no experience doing before, right? And I feel like I'm not great at Sanda, but I have experience making the jump from non-fighting to full contact fighting. That is the first step is set your expectations. Set your expectations on what exactly you need to do, right? So for example, if you're not good at a specific skill set, train and practice that specific skill set and build up to it. Okay. Like for example, jump roping, right? I sucked at jump roping. My last wushu coach, B Lee, Qingyan B Lee, helped me get into jump rope. I didn't want to do it, but he kind of twisted my arm and put me into it. He made me get a jump rope. He made me do rope ladder drills. He gifted me a rope ladder, so I had no excuses to not do rope ladder drills, right? And that gave me footwork. It gave me fast feet. He wanted me to move and jump like a gazelle, is what he said, were his words, right? In my last years competing in Taolu, you know, and without that, you know, I would not have been able to do jump rope, you know. I wasn't that great at jump rope, but I knew that, you know, I heard Coach Lee once needed to do 12 rounds of 3-minute jump rope, right? And the one with a 1 minute break in between. The 1 minute wasn't even a break. It was you did abs. You did abs every rotation, right? And I was like, well, if Coach Lee can do that, I should do that too, right? So, but I couldn't do that right away, so I built up, right? You know, maybe a minute a day, and when a minute becomes too easy, build up to 2 minutes, 3 minutes, right? And then when you can do 3 minutes, start doing rounds. You know, start doing 3 3-minute rounds, 4, 5, 6, right? And then eventually I made the jump to 10 because when I was taking virtual Zoom classes with Bruce Wong for Sanda when the pandemic hit,
Yeah.
he made me do 10 for my homework, and I did it because I was like, I need to know if I can do this. And then, you know, Coach Mark said, hey, when I asked him what should I do for my cardio for fight camp, he's like, yeah, you could do 10-minute rounds of jump rope. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do 12 because I knew I could do 12 because I actually did it before. And if I could do 12, I know I could do 10, no problem. So I always did 12. Every time I jump roped in my fight camps, I always did. I always tried to make time to do it twice a week. You know, I always snuck it in even when I was when I was technically supposed to be working full time, which I probably shouldn't say, but you know, but it's stuff like that you can build up to, right? I couldn't do it right away, but I built up to it, right? If there's a certain strength or number that you want to hit when you're doing your compound lifts, right? Whether it's your squat, your deadlift, or your bench, work your way up to it, right? No one's gonna care what you look like if it's just you, just training yourself, right? So just build up and see what you can do. Set reachable goals, right? We've all heard of the SMART acronym: specific, measurable, time tested. I don't remember the last three, but we get the point, right? Um, and once you set those expectations, be honest about where you are and what you need to do to get there, right? Um, and then once you do that, definitely study your sport. Understand what is the best path to success, right? Like I knew that when I wanted to compete, I it was either going to be 60 or 56 kg because I was able to diet down from I was walking around at 140 pounds around the pandemic, and I started fasting to diet down to 135, 134, and then I got myself down to around 130. And I remember I was on a call with Jeff Chan or MMA Shredder because I signed up for his MMA Go program, and it included professional coaching one on one, and it allowed for 2 WhatsApp calls per month. And the first one was actually didn't even count; it counted as an introductory call, so it didn't count as the first 2 calls. And he wanted to discuss my goals with me, and he asked me, "What weight are you at?" And I was like, I'm 130 pounds." That was a lie. I was probably 132 or 134 because I broke my fast. But he was like, you might actually make a good flyweight, which is in UFC language is 125 pounds, right? Now, the closest weight to that in kilos for weight classes in Sanda is 56 kg. That's 123.4 pounds. I knew that because I knew that was the goal. If that's a goal that I got to meet to cut weight, that's what I got to do. The reason why I did that was because I could easily do 60 kg. I was already like 132 pounds, 130 pounds, 134. I could easily like cut weight to do that, no problem, right? But the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, I had teammates. I had Siheng Jeffrey Khan, and my teammate that fought last year, Dallas Andrews. They both fought at 60 kg, and you know my personal principle in traditional Chinese martial arts culture, if two people from the same school or the same team fought at
Yeah,
the same tournament, you never got in the way of each other. You never fought in the same
yeah,
weight class. If you did, you always defer to the senior. You know,
yeah. I
and,
think the
and I know
same.
this. I know that some people are liberal and they don't really care about that. But the truth of the matter is, it's not just a traditional Chinese thing. Even in the West, this kind of matters too, right? Um, I think in Black House MMA, Anderson Silva had a problem with Vitor Belfort because they were going to fight each other at middleweight in the UFC. I think recently, Team Renegade, the first gym in the UK to produce a UFC champion, Leon Edwards, right? They kicked out Ian Gary, supposedly because Ian Gary was competing in the same weight class, and they might fight each other. So
Yeah,
that can cause some awkwardness there, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So definitely have some clarity, have a path to success, right? So I knew that if my teammates were going to fight at 60, fine, I got to make the cut down to
But
56. Yeah, and it just so happened that I was fortunate to do that because, you know, 56 was my best chance at success. You know how competitive 60 is? Man, if I fought at 60 kg, the results would
and
be way different.
I was in 60 kilos. I know.
Yeah, man, and you know, understanding what is the best chance for success. Some people even told me, well, they were actually concerned for my health, in terms of cutting weight, and they were like, you don't have to make 56. You can just do 60 if you want. You can go up a weight class if you want. This is too hard. And I was like, no, I gave my word. I knew that 56 was my best chance. So I did 56, you know. So understanding your path to success. What is the you have to give yourself the best chance for success. These are all things that I didn't do in Taolu, and I think that that's the reason why I wasn't successful in Taolu. And part of the reason that I was more successful in Sanda is because I specifically did this. I set expectations. I knew where I needed to be and where I was at to get to those goals, and I looked at what uh what was the best path for success, right? And a huge part of that was uh, selecting the correct weight class where you can have the best chance to succeed. Honestly,
Matthew, Thank you very much for your message. Thank you very, very much for your time. It was like a 2 hours full of emotions,
Is this the
full of
longest one?
I think there's another one, but man,
Oh, okay,
honestly,
that's okay. That's okay.
I don't care about the time because at the end, we're talking about many stories and things like it's not only like we're talking about Sanda, we're talking about transition.
Mm,
You are talking about story. You are giving us a lot of information that many people don't know, and this is a really good podcast. Even if you want to like watch in like 1 hour, 2 hour, like whatever. But to me, I learned a lot from you. You know, as a podcaster, I learned a lot about how do you love this sport, why you still doing this, what is your mission, what path you want to take right now, and man, again, I wish you the best. Whatever you're going to do, just do it with love
thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
because man, you really you show a lot. You know, you show a lot in this sport. You show a lot of people. You know, many people know who you are, and I really appreciate your time. I know many people from around the world, they're gonna watch this podcast, they're going to recognize you, and they're going to learn more about you. And it's not about to be the Taulu guy in doing Sanda. It's like you were a Taulu athlete, and now you are a Sanda athlete, and respect, you know, because like me, when I was like when I jumped, I tried tradition just for because my students they compete in nationals. Remember in Pan Am's in Lubbock, we have a
Mm,
nationals, and my students told me like, "Hey, coach, if you don't compete, we don't compete." And like, oh my god, okay. So I had Christian in this side with the USA team that actually he was the champion in the heavyweight with Bermuda. Remember? Oh man, he
mhm.
was well. And then my students doing nationals, and okay, I'm going to try. So I did my best. I remember I practiced, man. I don't want to say this, but I not even practice for my traditional. I remember the last time I took my sword, my gen, it was in Pan Americans, you know, in Pan American games, and it was muscle memory. And then man, it was a really good experience. But because at the end, you are a martial artist, you are um I was watching a YouTuber. He's I think as a karate guy, and I like this. Like you need to spar every time. There's many fighters that they don't even spar. Like there's a different methodology. Like man, I don't UFC fighter. Like man, I don't spar because I know now I need to do is just focus on my technique. So when you're a martial artist, I think that is the key. Focus
Mm,
on what you love to do and how
yes.
and how do you do. And man, thank you again. I'm going to. Is there anyone, any? If you want to leave us, you want to give us your Facebook or Instagram or whatever. I know you have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Please comment. I'm going to write it down in descriptions. Please, can you give us your Facebook or Instagram and YouTube channel so people can go and message you at something? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I don't really have I don't really use Instagram
Okay, perfect.
personally. But I do have a personal Facebook, and I do have a YouTube channel. That's correct. I can send that to you if you guys need that information. But but yeah, yeah. I apologize. I know it's like past midnight where I'm at, but can I just if I can just say two things? I have to
Yeah,
say
of
this.
course. Yeah, 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 of course. I'm here.
There's because these are my wushu heroes, and I cannot leave the podcast without mentioning them. It's okay if you don't want to fight in Sanda, but I do encourage you to practice both Taolu and Sanda because one of the reasons why I got motivated into taking Wushu so seriously was because I used to do my own research on Wushu and I used to read Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine, right? And one of the first ones that I read was an issue featuring Zhao Changjun, the Jet
Mhm.
Li's competitive rival, right? And he is quoted as saying, actually, this was in an interview, Master Zhao Changjun, in his own words, by Mastering Wushu, aka Emilio Alpansec. His website unfortunately is defunct now, but he gave me a transcript of the interview so that I could still read it.
Wow.
Zhao Changjun is quoted as saying in that interview, Sanshou and Taolu are in different sections in Wushu competition, but actually they are both are part of wushu. If you want to be a real wushu expert, you shall practice both. That's the way to be a good wushu practitioner. It is not
Yes.
good if you only practice taolu and do not know anything about the other method, other application, or other practice. That is like walking with one leg, not two legs.
You're like a part-time job.
Yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir. And there's also another master, Grandmaster Qian Yuanze. I believe he was one of, if not the first wushu coach to bring wushu to Mexico in 1980 and 1981 or 1982, I believe.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, and he said there's definitely a connection between Taolu and Sanda, but they are not equivalent. You know, Taolu has its structure and frame and artistic interpretation. Sanda is strictly for application. It's figuring out how to most efficiently strike a point within a given set of rules, right? Um, and Grandmaster Cai Longyun said, if you really want to be an expert at martial arts, you must learn Taolu and Sanda. If you only want to train for health or only for fighting, then you only need to concentrate in one area. But the real wushu masters, they definitely encouraged learning both because it gave you an all-around understanding of wushu.
Yeah.
And you know that's the one thing I forgot to say, and I wanted to keep in there. So thank you for your time.
Oh,
But if I can just say one last thing, I owe you a lot of gratitude and a lot of I'm just very thankful for you basically because I think it makes sense. It's very appropriate that I actually get my first ever video interview with you because you know me. You've known me personally more than most people in the wushu community ever have. You've known me since I was 16, right? That's 14 years now.
yeah.
Back in Shizahai in 2010. So you actually have seen me grow up in the wushu community more than most people. You know, most people in the Sanda community know about me now in the US, but honestly, back then, when I was just doing Taolu, I felt like nobody gave a fuck who I was, you know. But you did. You always treated me with respect. You always gave me your friendship. You gave me your advice. You gave me your time. You gave me your experience and knowledge, and you never asked for anything in return. I just wanted to say, you do a lot for this sport, and
Thank you.
you've achieved so much. Actually, if we're using Chinese terminology, you are my 前辈. 前辈 for people that don't know is actually the equivalent of senpai, right? It's the one that came before you, your senior, right? Because
Okay.
everything that I achieved that I could put on a resume for a wushu career, you actually did first. You did all of it before me, truthfully, you know. And you on top of that, aside from all that you've achieved as a competitor, you also know so much about both sides of the sport, Taolu and Sanda. You even know how to set up the Taolu carpet and the Sanda Lei Tai, both competition areas of play, right? The field of play, FOPs, right? For both sides of the sport. Yeah, I remember when we were setting things up in Dallas Fort Worth for the HYX 16th World Wushu Championships, right? Mr. Fu gave us feedback on how to set it up professionally, right? And when we were setting up the warm up Lei Tai mats and the Taolu carpets in the warm up area, right? When we finished the last Taolu carpet, you remember what he said? He turned to you and said, 你热爱武术, right? Which can be translated as you love wushu, right? I mean, but truthfully, 热爱 it can be translated to hot love, right? So we could say passion, right? We all know love,
Yeah.
right? Like
Love.
爱你兄弟, right? We know that, right? But 热爱 is passion. You are
Passion.
passionate about wushu. And Mr. Fu, the head of Wei Xing, the
The
official
owner.
sponsor the owner of the official creator of wushu, professional wushu equipment, told you that. So if that guy tells you that, that should tell you everything you need to know. You have so much knowledge and you've given so much to our community. And honestly, I feel like sometimes you don't get the respect you deserve. But let me tell you something.
Thank you.
You deserve every ounce of success you can get, and I hope that you get the recognition you deserve. So
Thank you,
thank you so
brother.
much for having me.
Nah, thank you, brother. Honestly, those last words I really love. The way it is. Um. Honestly, I'm gonna say this, and I don't care if some people get mad, but I don't fucking care. About like if they respect me or not. I think when people don't respect you for some reason, it's because or they're afraid of you, or it's just like they feel Like he knows he can know more than me. But it's not about that. I'm not here because of them. At the end, I'm doing this because I love. This channel is because of you. Um, you know, I'm sorry for what I'm gonna say, but I'm not a cocksucker. Like one day I'm here, tomorrow I'm not. You know, thank God. Sanda and Wushu is my passion. I have a different things to do in my life. I and I really love and I really thank you. I really thank you because your words means a lot. Um, I think everyone when you earn respect in any place anyway, um, you earn it because who you are, and many people knows that. And I love the way, and I'm gonna say this, I love the way how many people from other countries show more respect to me than other people here in US because they know I help them a lot. They know me from years, and they know I never try to be hypocrite with them. Like I'm the way who I am. I'm Edgar, and I'm never going to try to have something back from you because you also helped me a lot. You also helped me last year in Lubbock, and you know what I'm talking about. And I'm very, very thankful about that because I have a friend like you in my life. I prefer to have a friend like you in my life than 10,000 people just waiting for you to do something wrong to talk shit about you.
Mm.
But that's the reason why many of those people is not even here. And I really love to be the underdog, even my students, because once we are there, we show the reality. And as Coach Lee says, you know Sanda, I know Sanda. We do Sanda.
Yes.
We both of us do Sanda, not karate Sanda, Muay Sanda, Taekwondo Sanda. We know Sanda. And yeah, thank you because that's something that I want to say, but I never find the way. But I don't fucking care, man, if they like me or not, because at the end, I'm here because I love this. They never pay me a fucking trip to Beijing or something to train. They never pay me something to go to Worlds. I paid it. I did it. I wore my ass off to go to Pan Am's, to World Games or something. They gave me the opportunity, and I really appreciate. Always going to appreciate that. And I know, and they know I respect them. Even if some of them they don't respect me. Why? You know why? Because at the end, they're fucking envy. I'm sorry, guys. If you're watching this video, fuck you. But I love this, and I'm not doing this to have a gold medal or something. I'm doing this because I love this sport. I love my sport, and I love it till the day when till I die. I'm not doing
兄弟,
this for anyone. Yeah, Shungdi. And you,
兄弟,
brother,
no, I hope you know you have a place in this sport. Your
thank you.
name will go down in history, and if it doesn't, I will make sure of it. And
Thank
listen,
you.
you've always been a friend to me. You're part of my wushu story,
Thank you. Thank
and
you.
I will always give gratitude back to the people that gave back to me.
Thank you, man. You too, man. I think my name is in the books, even in Mexico and US. My
Mm,
name is in the books. And that's something that I'm always going to be I'm proud of it. I want my kids to be proud of me. And I want my kids to be better than me. Maybe not in Wushu, maybe not in Sanda, because sometimes it's like, oh, you really want your kids to do Sanda and Wushu? This is a very monopolized sport sometimes. So just train, know what your father is doing right now, but whatever they're going to decide in the future, awesome. They want to compete, awesome. They want to be awesome. I'm going to support them, and I'm going to do everything. But lastly, again, this podcast is for you guys, your story, your life. and why you're doing this. I really appreciate again your time. We're gonna have next podcast. We're gonna have I think Livingston. I hope so.
Yeah,
And
finally.
yeah, and it's gonna be a great podcast. Also, I really respect Livingston a lot. I love that guy. He always nice with me again, and it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Some you want to be part of the few, not of the many. Is what I think. It's better to be one of the few than one of the many. And and remember, you always gonna have haters in your life. Everyone in life have some fake haters, and sometimes they're good because they're fans. So thank you so much, guys. This was the 24th episode. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you like it. And if you have any comment, please comment below and tell me what do you want or who you want. Please write below if you have someone from other country to be here in this podcast, because this podcast is for you. And I have a surprise. I'm gonna start making videos about we're going to like uh uh, to let me find the way. Yeah, like which brand is better, like this glove or this glove,
Oh,
comparison.
interactive social media posts. Okay,
Yeah,
social engagement.
we're going to compare brands about like the Westing one with this brand and this and this, and because we have to use this and that. I'm preparing a very good podcast about with a doctor who is a neurologist. um, we're gonna talk about we're gonna mention about why we need to spar like this and what is the secondary things when you are a fighter and this and that, and many things. I hope, guys, I hope you can find this podcast very helpful in your life. Brother, thank you for your time. Thank you for these 2 hours.
Hey man, thank you for having me. Hey, where else do we get to talk about this weird thing we do called Wushu Sanda, huh?
I know, man.
Hardly
I
ever.
love it.
Hardly ever, man. So I love this. I love doing this, man.
I mean, me too, man. I love you, man. And again, um, I hope to see you soon, man. I hope to see you soon.
For sure. For sure.
And thank you. Don't go. Let me finish. Thank you again, guys. So see you next time in the next podcast with our next guest. I think it's gonna be Livingston. I hope so. And then we have Marta from Spain in the 27. So it's gonna be awesome because we're gonna have Spanish and English. And before we leave, man, I want to bring a Chinese athlete here. Maybe I'm gonna need your help because I wanna do something crazy like having the Chinese guy here. Maybe you can translate in English and I can do the translation in Spanish. What about that?
Uh
Like
so uh i-
not writing, just like
right,
this.
like live. Honestly, when I was interviewing the Chinese athletes at the HYX 16th World Wushu Championships last
Uh-huh.
year, we actually had to get approval from their coach to let
Oh,
them get interviewed. But I can tell you what helped me out was working with Martha Burr and Liu Jiemei. So I can actually ask them if they can get in touch with some Sanda athletes and see what the possibilities are. Obviously, because I'm just one person, I'm not really anybody special. I can't guarantee anything, but I do know them, and they can probably pull some strings because
but
they're IWF people.
the good thing, I have brothers in Beijing, so they can help us too. They can be part of they were former athletes from the China team, like Wang Fangkun.
Wang Fangkun. Oh, you said he has a legendary jab.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh man, we didn't talk about that story, but well,
Next
maybe
time, next time, next time.
next time. But
Hey, we talked about this before. We got to get Max Chen and
yeah,
Mark
and Mark,
on the
yeah, we
podcast.
gotta have, yeah, that's gonna be a different podcast. Like
Yeah, yeah.
we gotta share different things, but yeah, that's gonna be like a different podcast. We're gonna
Yeah,
talk a
yeah.
lot of many things, but yeah.
Next time,
So
next time.
guys, thank you so much. I love you all, and thank you for following this channel. See you guys.